Class was literally just starting on day one, and our boy absolutely wrecked the popular girl by rolling the only secret necromancer build on the server. His supposed girlfriend Yan Roliu, acting like a basic low-tier support main, tried to publicly cancel him and dump his ass. Just because the MC dropped into the lobby with 0 mana energy, which supposedly made him the ultimate dead weight dragging down their entire co-op squad. But nobody realized he actually secured a completely broken buff, letting him perfectly clone all his garbage stats to directly mirror his single highest number while literally throwing hands and punching mobs. Kept feeding him pure extra skill points, completely morphing our dude into a maxed out flex magic user, acting as the undisputed final raid boss defending the Earth server when the endgame dropped. Are we living in the Matrix right now? Because this alternate reality looks exactly like ours, until a massive wipe event hit centuries ago, crashing the planet and randomly spawning chaotic instance zones everywhere, like some glitched out MMORPG map, where normal teenagers literally log into the system upon turning 18, catching crazy power-ups through their character selection screen, giving them the juice to go farm those extremely hostile. Since deep inside these zones, everybody grinds out that sweet XP by completely deleting monster waves, heavily spiking their overall damage output, and today is the exact tutorial phase for picking an official combat role. The second our boy steps onto the glowing trigger plate, a super weird audio glitch starts playing inside his brain, dropping the mega hype that he unlocked, the ultra-rare secret death magic path, leaving him absolutely shook, staring at his own glowing palms. We all know spellcasters already break the meta right out of the box, so rolling a hidden skeleton summoner is basically cheating. There are literal forum myths claiming a single flick of their wand summons an absolute tsunami of cursed skeletons, pouring out from the underworld right onto the PvP arenas, proving just one creepy magic dude. Completely solos, entire enemy guilds, without breaking a sweat, so shaking with adrenaline, he pulls up his character UI, only to get hit with the ultimate jump scare, seeing a massive flat 0 in his magic bar, because the RNG algorithm arbitrarily scatters the initial starting points based on whatever weird archetype you randomly draft, capping out at a base 10 for standard builds, while mana capacity is the most cracked requirement for any caster, meaning anything under 2.5 completely nerfs their entire kit, putting their combat potential straight into the trash. The server then pings a notification that character creation is done and forces him to pick a starter perk. At first, he was totally ready to rage, quit his entire playthrough, but literally, 1 frame later, the RNG gods bless him insanely hard, congratulating his account for securing a glitched out unknown tier combat pulse trait, dropping 10 totally free points into his inventory, while adding an automatic buff whenever the engine registers melee takedowns, handing out pure extra leveling fuel alongside a one-time usable tactical nuke where our boy can literally copy-paste his top score across the whole board, completely breaking his brain with how sus it sounds. Wait, is that even legal? Because scoring unassigned leveling numbers is usually an absolute nightmare grind, since hitting a level up screen is basically the only guaranteed way to catch any kind of character progression. Otherwise, you are heavily relying on pure dumb luck. Yet this busted auto feature promises a non-stop steady flow of sweet custom upgrades just from throwing hands with basic mobs, though the most highly toxic aspect actually comes from the manual trigger button, since popping it once permanently drags every single baseline stat up to matching tier, making him an absolute omnipotent tryhard who just completely patched over the most squishy elements of a glass cannon playstyle, wiping out the pathetic health pool and paper armor debuffs, because if the MC smashes that ult button immediately, locking 10 points everywhere creates a legendary starter package that nobody in the early game lobby has ever witnessed, leaving 0 chance for the competition. But imagine the absolute flex of hoarding up to 1,000 or even 10,000 before aggressively slamming the activation key, spawning a Deathlord, packing 5-figure damage multipliers across the board, transforming into a literal server-wiping boss character, plus his automatic skill strictly relies on pure brawler mechanics to generate value, meaning he literally has 0 reason not to dump the entire 10-point starter bonus straight into his raw bicep power before the artificial intelligence forcefully respawns him inside the noob mission hub. Basically, our boy has to speedrun this noob tutorial just to legally finalize his whole class awakening gig. Out of nowhere, this pointy-eared NPC named Helen pops up, flexing her quest hall guide status. Catching on that our MC is trying to grind the tutorial, She slides him a basic starter bundle. Ripping open the loot drop gets him totally decked out in trash tier armor and some rank fee manual called Skeleton Summoning, which is totally useless right now, since his spirit stat is literally sitting at 0. But wait, look at this wand. It looks like your typical spell slinging stick, right? Built totally different. Not some cheap rock combined with a whopping 20 points of raw power. This thing is begging to smash skulls. So our boy taps the guide for the real intel, wanting the actual mission details. Suddenly a system ping drops, telling player Juju to bail from the foggy death pit. Huge red flag here. The game explicitly bans frying any undead mobs during the breakout, forcing a massive sweatfest escape. Our MC just completely ignores her dialogue, skipping right into the abyss, landing inside a completely busted zone flooded with literal head bones until some bony creep tries to backstab our boy, catching him completely off guard. Gripping his staff, he full sends it, chunking 20 health away from the rotting dude in one swing. Absolutely wild, right? Who knew a magic user going full meathead could pack such a heavy punch? Getting a server notification that he legally crushed the mob with hands only, bagging 1 free upgrade point and 3 XP tokens, plus for catching his first ever body. The game gives him an insanely broken passive called Strength Works Wonders, where raw power literally doubles down, turning every muscle point into 2 attack damage, meaning squishy enemies with 0 armor will eat 42 damage from a single jab, making this perk heavily overpowered. Pure boss energy. He charges right into the mob swarm, one-tapping every single target until the screen flashes his bump to level 5, getting his strength to an insane 30 points, while everything else spiked because usually 10 points. Stamps you as top tier, so hitting 30 in one category is absolutely unheard of stuff. Totally sus though. Why does this tutorial zone keep endlessly vomiting undead minions? Something smells rotten here, because baby zones are never this generous. Then, out of nowhere, a nightmare sound drops as this absolute unit of a Bone Daddy stomps into view. The HUD flags him as the skeleton captain, meaning pure boss fight energy, so he scans the stats, entirely shook that the boss rocks 15 strength, meaning 1 hit leaves a noob completely cooked. Exploiting the dude's pathetic 1 point in agility, he pushes the throttle. Swinging wood hard, he dives straight into the danger zone. He swings, actually scratch that. Even with insane attack rhythm, this elite mob casually flexes a shield block, ruining the combo, but immediately drops his spear guard, leaving a gap. Our MC punishing that massive mistake too, handing his blunt weapon, caving the boss dome in with crackhead speed, instantly deleting. 50 whole health points, letting the game announce a fat reward for raw melee execution. Scoring 3 pure upgrade points, proving the loot scales completely off enemy threat levels. Hunting down the biggest bads guarantees the juiciest free upgrades possible. Clapping mobs also drops these spicy soul cores, acting like pure gacha crates. Hitting the jackpot, our boy loots a shiny new core from the dead captain. Popping the seal on this mystery box, snagging a rank D consumable bone glove, basically guaranteeing that his next strike will it carry him. Diving deeper into the nightmare tunnel, Agros more creeps, swarming the front line, and despite farming insane levels, his health pool is still barely sitting at 20. Gotta play this safe for a hot minute. Actually, scratch that, 2 minutes of grinding later, and our boy hits level 20 farming those bony boys, got his strength stat stupid high at 46 points while outside the tutorial zone. Literally every other awakened newbie is already done speedrunning their intro quests. The crowd is hella confused right now. Bro, is anyone else thinking this? Year's tutorial was an absolute joke. Even the squishy support classes dipped out ages ago, yet that glowing dungeon gate is still wide open, meaning some solo player is still cooking inside the instance. All the bystanders are betting this dude just rolled a complete trash tier class. Meanwhile, our MC just wiped the floor with the remaining skeleton mobs. Big mistake though. Bro witnesses the craziest animation sequence. Detached skulls start flying around like homing missiles, popping off with loud bangs. They glue together into one massive headpiece, morphing straight up into this absolute unit of a bone beast. Dripping in spooky ghost fire, the system drops a lore bomb saying this guy owns the entire map. Stepping up as the Mist Cave Skeleton King, bro, is this game actually trolling us right now? Why did the devs drop a raid boss in the starter area before he can even blink big bone? Daddy swings a massive axe right at his dome. Our boy barely sidesteps that lethal hit, dodging by a hair, but that close call reveals a major flaw. Just like the previous mini-boss, this giant hits like a truck, but moves like a turtle stuck in molasses. He recycles his old parry and punish strat, landing a clean strike, though the output is pretty mid, dealing a pathetic 32 damage. Doing the gamer math right now, trying to solo this raid boss means he has to hit that exact counter over 20 times. Thankfully, this clunky boss has zero movement tech, so kiting him around the arena is a walk in the park. Soon enough, the big bad boss HP drops down to a measly 200 health points, but then the craziest RNG happens. The skeleton starts spitting actual human words. Dude complains. He has been camping this mist cavern spawn for centuries and never once saw a player completely break the game mechanics like this mid-monologue. The boss starts glitching and vibrating violently. Flexing a massive aura spike, he is officially entering Phase 2, Berserker mode, but listening to that voice line, our guy realizes he just unlocked a hidden world. First boss phase charging in blindly will definitely get him cooked. Gotta heavily nerf his mobility first. Catching a wobbly boulder right behind the boss, the brain starts cooking up a cheese strat, waiting for the aggro to drop MC dashes straight toward the giant rock, setting up the trap, baiting the monster with that negative riz yelling, "Hey, bonehead, catch me if you can." The boss takes the bait and charges like a madman. Our boy raises his staff for a quick block, faking a stamina break to purposely tank the hit. Gravity does the rest as the boulder crashes down, pinning the slow boss under a mountain of rubble. Homie stands there completely frozen, shook to his core. That play was way too sus. Nobody warned him that a single scratch from the big guy could basically one-shot his entire health bar leaping into the sky. He equips those newly looted skeleton gauntlets, bringing down a heavy smash, dealing a massive chunk of almost 150 damage straight to the boss. Right on cue, the server announces the tutorial is fully cleared, dropping a massive congratulations banner for officially escaping noob status plus securing the ultimate world first clear on the Mist Cave boss. For dusting, the Skeleton King he bags 30 free stat points and an op piece of buffing gear. Dubbed the Skeleton King ring, packing a cracked passive where your first basic hit chunks, an extra 50% bonus damage right off the bat, gated by a brutal 24-hour cooldown timer, even if the stats are a bit mid compared to his epic gloves. Infinite reuse value makes it totally worth the grind. Honestly, flipping this loot on the auction house would easily secure 250,000 blue star coins, but the real hype comes from snagging that virgin boss. Kill proving absolutely zero players had ever triggered or beaten this guy, which is honestly super sus. Like, did literally everybody else fail to actually complete the real tutorial? Or did our MC just skip the cutscenes too fast and miss the lore drop after doing some quick mental gymnastics? He votes to log out of the zone first, smashing that fast travel button to leave the starter area. Suddenly, this absolute tank of a dude smacks our boy on the back. He was watching the crazy long timer we spent grinding inside that zone. Literally thought that the main character got cooked in there. Turns out this beefy bro is just Kenny, his day one homie and school buddy. Kenny actually rolled the exact same RNG as us, getting the spellcaster build. Right then, Coach Chen grabs the mic to drop some server news, barking from the main stage that every single noob in the lobby has officially locked in their job paths moving on. Tomorrow is all about finding your squad for the tutorial raid, and to make sure nobody drafts a total trash team comp. The teacher forces the whole roster to step up, one by one, spilling our exact stat sheets to find the perfect synergy. Flexing our newly unlocked builds, naturally. Basically, the entire lobby spawned in as generic melee attackers, rocking completely mid-potential, mostly floating between D-tier and total F-tier garbage. But wait, a couple of the sweaty tryhards pulled super rare drops like Holy Knights and Healers, though the real main event is Class President Marcus. The guy secured a crazy B-tier Blade Master Path out here in the Dragon Empire, where everyone glazes swordsmen like crazy. That is basically instant VIP status, plus those blade mains are ridiculously broken in the current blue star meta. Coach Chen is out here cheesing so hard right now, knowing a B-tier prodigy is basically a guaranteed free carry. Then our boy steps up to the plate revealing his ultra-secret undead summoner drop, and honestly concerning his actual power level. The MC does not even know himself. The second those words leave his mouth, the shook to the core. Sure, the sword guy is super up, but the server still has like 8 or 9 of them wandering the Dragon Empire, whereas a Lord of the Dead is literal mythic tier lore only ever mentioned in ancient patch notes. The boomers say back in the beta days, one single shadow mage actually went completely rogue, deleting a massive clan from existence over petty drama. Hearing This makes pretty boy Marcus freeze up for a split second. But the dude brushes off the hidden unlock like it is totally mid, assuming that even with ghost powers, his base stats are just as squishy as any glass cannon caster, paper-thin health bar 0 physical armor, basically free XP for a stealth attack. And since our MC is constantly hanging out with literal walking corpses, his raw stamina pool is completely nerfed, worse than an absolute NPC walking off the street. Not to mention spawning zombies takes an eternity of channel time. So, without a heavy tank drawing aggro, they are literally just sitting ducks waiting to get one-shotted, and Marcus Loki assumes that our guy lying about his potential rank is Major Copium, probably just hiding a trash tier score to save face. Once the whole roster finishes leaking their stat screens, Coach Chen calls game over on the orientation event, ordering the squad to log off for the day and rest up for maximum stamina. Stepping through his front door, the MC does his usual routine hollering, saying he is back, but just gets absolute dead air in response, chilling in the dusty base his folks abandoned before ghosting him. The lore drops here. Say his mom and dad were absolute legends who adored him until he hit level 6. They picked up some emergency sudden quest and fast-traveled to the main hub overnight, practically wiping their own accounts right after. Meaning our boy has to totally sweat his way to a high score in tomorrow event. It is the absolute only viable strat. For securing a slot at the most cracked academy on the server capital university, fast forward to the pre-game lobby the next morning. Coach Chen is dropping one final massive warning for the squad, stating that if the aggro gets way too heavy, they need to smash that emergency exit button instantly, normally. The noob zones have a strict 0 perma-death policy, but exactly 25 seasons ago, a major glitch happened. A massive 40-player raid group triggered a fatal error and got totally wiped from the server in a tutorial stage. Their literal character models vanished into thin air, like they just got deleted from the code. I mean, who actually expects to survive that? To this very second, nobody has a clue what insane boss mechanics were in there, so the dev slapping the super edgy title of Nightmare Village on that cursed instance. The coach tells the lobby to chill out though, saying that even with the tutorial map, RNG, randomizing for every player that specific cursed level has not spawned a single time in decades. Wrapping up the lore drop, Chen hits the big button, officially launching the survival speedrun. Cue the blinding flashbang as the entire squad gets teleported straight into the grinding zone. Tailing behind pretty boy Marcus as we boot up the map. Our guy is already feeling majorly sus about the vibes in here. Bro, usually the system drops a fat notification when you load into a raid zone, but everything just went pitch black, catching me totally off guard with those creepy vibes until some random geezer in Sus drip spawned right in front of the squad, figuring he was actually, just the tutorial, NPC dropping the lore dump. And yeah, the old dude immediately starts yapping about welcoming us to the straight up calling it in rankest beginner death trap, called Nightmare Village, with 2 crazy win conditions being simply surviving the zone first, and second exposing the absolute deepest lore of this cursed map, which had our boy completely shook to his core. Talk about the worst RNG possible, because we literally stumbled into the exact same raid that totally team-wiped an entire lobby of students back in the day, making half the party. Instantly smashed the quit out button, trying to rage quit and save their skins since scaling the difficulty rating. Makes this ranks beginner raid absolute hell, while our own stats and literally everything else barely spiked at all, demanding we grind up fast. Meaning, are we seriously about to get farmed right now? Basically guaranteeing a failed speedrun right here. But then Mr. Geezer hits us with the absolute worst dialogue saying entering the zone means you are hard locked into this cursed map, unless you actually literally 0 teleport scrolls out of here, which makes total sense. Why that last party got absolutely spawn camped, getting 0 deathless runs, but honestly, looking at the NPC, he didn't give off massive villain energy. So his patch notes had to be legit, meaning hunting down. That hidden lore was our only ticket back to the lobby. Sure enough, the boomer finally drops his name tag, revealing he is the main shot caller of this haunted server. Chief Warren dropping 2 massive server rules, where Rule 1 is keeping your filthy casual hands off the dark rocks, slapped onto the front porches, and Rule 2 demands camping inside a base before the sun completely logs off, while boarding up every single entry point, getting me super confused, like why are we acting so paranoid? Wait, why exactly does stepping outside after dark mean an instant game over screen? Old man completely dodges the question. just dropping a cryptic warning that the midnight phase will explain everything. Straight after that, our class carry Marcus splits the squad into 4 separate 11-player guilds, letting every party roam around to claim a safe house while my specific gang decides to lock down the upper floor of some random shack. But once the night phase kicks in, our boy Leo spots his actual grandma, just chilling outside, completely sus bro, doing the whole creepy begging animation with twisted hands, asking him to unlock the frame for some warmth, who actually falls for that bait, bro, because without a single brain cell firing, he literally unlatches the glass and wait. No, by the time my camera pans over, I am screaming at him that the thing is a fake. Way too slow though, since the mob already latched onto his hitbox getting ready to chomp down with its massive jaws, when out of nowhere, a literal tsunami of dirt binds the spirit. Coming straight from Kenyon, dropping his crowd control, caster combo, forcing the entity to drop its disguise. Revealing a basic level, 3 mob dubbed a nightmare, leaving the chat. Shook that a minion. Could flex shape-shifting skills in this tier raid, while the creature immediately aggroed onto Kenny, forcing Stella to pop her holy barrier, drawing the aggro away as Zoe slides in, dropping some heavy heals to keep his HP bar topped off, proving that if the squad actually synergized their cooldowns, tanking this creep would be absolute child's play while we stall for my necromancer build to pop off, letting my skeleton army sweep the board. But in a massive plot twist, the absolute madman rushing the front lines is me making Kenny scream that a wand is for range DPS only. And is he really trying to throw the whole run? Getting into melee range would totally get my squishy caster self deleted from the server. Yet, right after that call-out, my weapon absolutely obliterates the monster right in the dome piece, leaving the entire backline party completely flabbergasted. Like, one-tapping a mob is already broken, but doing it with a wizard class. Throwing hands is pure riz and right. Then the remains of the beast morphed straight into a dark gem, melting away fast, totally cooked right in front of our eyes, rocking the exact same logo as the sigils plastered all over the village doors, making my gamer sense tingle. Was this whole zone just one massive bait? Because I clearly just packed up that demon in a brawl, making contact, but the game interface totally ghosted me on the XP drops. Fast forward to sunrise, and the entire squad is glazing our boy for one tapping that sleep demon. Suddenly every single NPC in our class is begging to get carried in his lobby out of nowhere, though a massive mob of local boomers spawns in and boxes us like fish. Head honcho Warren leads the pack yapping about strapping our crew to a bonfire to barbecue our bad karma away. And if we even think about fighting back against their crazy, it is an instant game over for all of us. Class President Marcus steps up, trying to use his diplomacy skill, asking if the vibes are just totally misread here, right? Then my brain starts connecting some highly sus dots, looking at the head count of these pitchfork-wielding haters. They perfectly match our own class roster. Plus, they are literally all practically teenagers, which makes this place look less like a real town and more like a fake movie set. Could these guys actually be the corrupted save files I am thinking of? Then the mayor starts crying about a shadow mob getting clapped in our crib last night, meaning we completely violated the terms of service of this spooky zone. So, the server admin ghost apparently sent that monster to nerf us, and this mayor thinks it is his sacred duty to follow the patch notes and roast us alive on a stick. Marcus tries to bargain for a side quest to fix this mess. Clearing our aggro with the local spirit is not some basic tutorial mission, though the guilty player has to AFK out in the open. The second the sky turns dark, Marcus instantly reads the room, realizing this whole forgiveness thing is a total scam. Chilling indoors is already a death sentence, let alone touching grass in the dark, catching that desperate vibe. Our boy struts past the front lines, claiming all the credit for melting that boss, telling everyone he will tank the night shift solo. Noticing our class rep sweating bullets, our MC calms him down. Chill out, Marcus. I already have a big brain strat for how we can finally speedrun out of this lobby. This is just a beta test for my plan. Fast forward a bit, and the mobs are tying him up, strapping him to a wooden pole with literal metal brackets once the NPCs de-aggro and leave our party members swarm him, totally shook and begging for the cheat codes he promised to escape this cursed map. Bro hits them with the "wait for the next episode" line, saying, "It is just a hunch for now." Time skips way too fast. As the sun dips below the horizon, the spooky town aesthetic goes full horror game mode with crazy thick smog rolling in, dropping our render distance to 0. But our dude still detects a massive aggro radius pulsing nearby. Suddenly, a freaky mutant with a triple eye setup jumps out of the shadows trying to backstab him. But out of absolutely nowhere, a sandy root spell snipes the beast from a distance, locking it down hard. It is none other than Marcus, stepping into the arena and popping his cooldowns on the beast. Taking advantage of the distraction, the healer duo, Stella and Zoe, pop out, trying to clutch up and unbind our hero. The only problem is, their builds are completely spaced for utility. Cracking this iron hardware requires massive physical damage, like the greatsword swinging class rep brings to the table. Mex just tells the girls to dodge roll backwards. A second later, he literally flexes the metal bindings into dust, using raw, unadulterated muscle. Because his physical stat has been stacked, actually, wait, no, it is absolutely broken right now. He only stayed tied up to bait out the elite mob. Meanwhile, Marcus is actually cooking, holding the upper hand in the 1 versus 1, throwing a massive ultimate that deletes the creature's health bar, shredding it all the way down to a measly 5 points. Right as the sword is about to connect for the wipe, our boy dashes across the screen and absolutely snatches the kill, leaving Marcus. Maulding out of his mind, he dumped all his mana into that boss fight, just for Mick to tap it once and steal the glory. But MC only KS in the name of science, confirming his hypothesis that wiping out these shadow elites drops literally 0 stat buffs. Suddenly, another duo of Nightmare creeps aggro onto their location. Our boy pivots and commands the squad to take cover indoors immediately, saying they should stop grinding pointless mobs because his galaxy brain finally unlocked the puzzle on how to 100% this cursed domain. Skip to the next morning, and the NPC mayor is throwing a massive tantrum, crying about how we broke our treaty overnight, whining that we packed up another spirit guard that was just doing its job. So this time, he is completely locked in on dragging us to the execution pyre, no matter what. Max steps right up into the boomer's face and drops a lore bomb. Yo, Mayor, man, are you totally positive? You guys are the actual vanilla spawns of this map? Our boy goes full grim dark mode, staring into his soul. I cracked the source code of this whole illusion last night. You weirdos acting like humble local farmers are honestly just the ghosts of the previous raid team that got fully wiped trying to clear this zone. We have literally been trapped in a fake VR simulation the moment we clicked enter, which is exactly why the exit portal is glitched out. Hearing this brutal truth completely breaks the mayor's pathing. He starts coping hard, acting like our boy is just yapping pure fiction. People think our boy is just yapping without receipts, but then he straight up flexes this glowing jade rock, pulling it right out of his pocket with this insane spooky aura around it. He drops this guardian rock as hard evidence, and the chief absolutely loses his mind, sweating bullets because this bad boy is literally their most OP holy relic, dropped by the big boss guardian spirit to carry them through the night raids, and if anyone dares to mess with it, that spirit is guaranteed to team wipe the entire village. But plot twist, bro, this thing is definitely not a legit protective charm, keeping them safe. I mean, who actually believes that the whole fake reality they are stuck in is actually coded from these sus dark rocks, engraved with some freaky glitchy patterns, meaning their so-called guardian spirit has been catfishing them this whole time, just to spawn trap them in this zone, forever. So if the squad just smashes these dark pebbles, the matrix is going to shatter. Our boy casually raises his hand, and the whole crew vibes with the plan, crushing the shiny black rocks right in their palms until they snap, cracking the literal sky open like a broken monitor. Suddenly, the NPC villagers get their memories unbanned, realizing they are actually that legendary missing class that got hard, stuck in this nightmare village instance like 40 years ago. Then the server hits the chat saying a player fully cracked the main Easter egg of this nightmare zone, successfully reviving every single trapped local from their sleep state, announcing that the loot drops will now scale based on their individual quest rating. But check this out once the crowd logs off. Only our 5 main players are left chilling in the insistence when the server pushes a brand new pop-up grats to the 5 Giga Chads for nuking those dark nightmare rocks and unlocking a super secret tier 1 difficulty mission, tasking them to hunt down the hidden nightmare heart item inside the map. Meanwhile, outside the portal, Coach Chen is totally shook, barely believing the squad actually rolled the Nightmare Village map and totally cleared the run. Is this guy for real? But wait, 5 of his students are still refusing to extract from the zone, making the coach instantly realize these absolute mad lads must have triggered some insanely rare hidden objective. And if his theory is right, clearing this secret mission means they get a free pass to literally any top-tier Ivy League school they want. Back inside, though, The vibes are getting insanely sketchy out of nowhere, like 10 nightmare mobs spawn camp them. Boxing the crew in completely, our MC instantly commands the 4 sidekicks to aggro the mobs, holding down the left flank while he completely solos the right side all by himself, since they already shattered the main illusion of this cursed map. Every single melee kill our boy scores now dumps raw, free stat points directly into his build. As pure bonus loot, a few sweaty combos later, the RNG gods bless them with a caster, drop an F rank fairy pendant, packing an exclusive perk that buffs all ability damage by 5%. Grabbing F tier gear is honestly a huge dub for beginner levels. But what is the point, since our guy literally has 0 magic to cast? The item is basically dead weight in his inventory, so he instantly trades it over to his day 1, homie Kenny, right after that. The squad pushes way deeper into the raid, looking for that juicy nightmare, hard objective. But before they can even walk 2 feet, boom, the actual floor crumbles like a dry cookie, and half the team clips straight into the underground level, where this absolutely rancid smell is stinking up the whole vibe. Kenny starts yapping about how they must have no-clipped into the sewer pipes, but literally, Zoe spots the actual source of the biohazard stink right there in the shadows. Is this freaky deformed mob just crouching down, looking exactly like an elite version of the Nightmare Fiends? And that garbage smell is straight up its morning breath. The UI tags this beast as a rare spawn, the absolute unit known as the Nightmare King. Thankfully, the big guy is fully AFK sleeping right now, because if they pull its aggro, this boss is going to hunt them to the edge of the map. Looking at this absolute unit, our MC connects the dots. What if the mission item is literally pumping inside this guy? Crazy, right? But honestly, trying to speedrun this boss fight right now is pure delusion, considering it is the final raid boss. Its base damage is sitting at a totally broken 65 points, while everything else spiked, meaning even a basic auto attack would one-tap the whole squad, leaving them no choice but to stealth out of there without waking the beast. Actually, wait, no, our boy smirks because he totally thinks they can cheese this kill. Right here, right now, you want to know why? Because his base strength just hit a cracked 101 points, stacking that with his passive buffs. The damage output is completely busted, plus thanks to the skeleton king ring he is wearing, he can instantly delete 1/3 of the boss HP bar in a single frame, meaning if he just lands some sweaty crit, strikes right on its weak spots, securing the loot is totally doable, but this strat is wildly high risk. One missed input, and they are getting instantly sent back to the lobby by this monster. So he breaks down the mega brain play to his homies saying, yeah, this boss has stats that look absolutely terrifying, but its armor rating is completely garbage. So if the team can just grab its aggro, keeping it distracted long enough, our MC is dead certain he can one-shot this ugly sleeper hearing this insane strat the squad. The whole squad actually decides to let our boy cook. They basically handed him the controller, since my guy carried through this entire cursed speedrun. By just listening to his grabbing a quick breather, the crew pushes up and totally scans the Nightmare King for any glaring hitboxes. That opening strike is straight up make or break, gotta snipe his squishiest pixel. Plus the game dropped a massive hint. This boss is literally AFK until somebody pulls aggro, catching everyone off guard. Our boy spots this super random patch, straight up glowing, perfectly aligned with his actual heart, making it insanely obvious that this shiny target is the ultimate crit spot for this big bad boss slapping on that skeleton king ring. Our MC winds up his staff and just absolutely unloads straight into the monster, leaving the entire party completely shook. They are literally losing their minds, seeing a rookie mage, dropping a filthy 508 physical damage bomb. The screen instantly flashes that player, Juyu, shattered the boss core, nerfing the whole secret mission down to difficulty level 1. The new objective is just to wipe this king out. Catching the vibe, our MC rallies the squad to execute their main strat, sending Marcus straight into the frontline meat grinder, eating all the heavy hits, while Kenny and the backline spam their support auras and rain down cover fire. Honestly though, even stacking Stella and her massive paladin defense a random swipe from this beast still chunks Marcus for 30 raw HP. Meanwhile, our boy has already flanked around the back of this nightmare, totally geared up to ambush. Watching this blurry shadow zip right past his vision, he just sweeps his staff like a baseball bat, slicing clean through the boss gut, triggering massive red alarms on the HUD that the big bad is at 1 HP, literally about to pop his ultimate move called Nightmare Realm. The giant dude starts aggressively vibrating, blasting this toxic crimson energy everywhere. It is a totally unblockable AoE death aura that melts health bars, draining everyone in the radius while he channels, basically confirming this toxic aura is what brainwashed the others earlier, who even survives that kind of dot damage. Solving that whole weird mystery, our boy just yachts his hand forward, completely canceling the boss cast animation, totally denying the Nightmare King his ultimate, soaking up that sweet buff energy from Zoe. He does not even hesitate, delivering the absolute final clap to wipe the boss, getting that satisfying loot drop sound. The server basically throws a parade for claiming world first on this village boss, tossing him an insane bonus. 30 free points, while the game starts handing out report cards based on who actually did the work. Player Zoe gets a basic clear rating, bagging some basic healing manual called Spring Breeze. Then Stella manages to score a completely average tier, unlocking this spiky defense skill book right before Kenny also lands straight in the mid-tier bracket, walking away with some dirt explosion magic, while our tank Marcus somehow matches their perfectly mid-score, snagging a super basic sword stance manual, which brings us to the absolute carry of the run player. Ju pulls a top-tier grade, clutching an ultra-rare withering technique. But ironically, our boy is completely locked out of reading manuals, meaning his only shot at getting decent upgrades is praying to the RNG gods for that boss drop. Suddenly the loot explodes in shiny pixels. Why is the revealing our boy just pulled a ridiculously busted dragon-piercing blade carrying some seriously cracked perks, boosting his attack by 100, while everything else spiked. But there is a massive catch. It is completely locked to the melee fighter class, leaving our MC staring at this god-tier loot feeling like this weapon is genuinely OP, but being a magic user means it is essentially an overpriced paperweight for him, tossing the epic blade right over to Marcus, since our tank boy can actually swing the thing. Looking at his own stat sheet though, only his raw physical power is looking somewhat juicy, while his health pool is absolute trash, sitting at barely 70. Totally nerfed by that stupid passive trait, blocking him from dumping points anywhere else, forcing our boy to get super creative just to stay alive, right as the server casually announces they 100% cleared the secret map. Instantly porting home is this guy, the main character or what, spawning right out of the instance gate. Their teacher Chen is actually losing his mind, flexing that his huge brain theory. He was right. They genuinely got sucked into that legendary nightmare tier trial, meaning they basically hit the academic jackpot. Beating this run guarantees them a VIP pass to literally any elite college. Catching the scent of these cracked players, top-tier university scouts instantly start swarming the lobby to recruit them. Crushing a secret mission inside the tutorial stage normally gets you instant VIP status at top-tier colleges, but the rulebook says we still gotta run a basic vibe check first to see if our character builds, and innate passives actually sync up perfectly together, meeting their strict entry requirements. Wait, is that fair hearing? This makes our boy feel completely cooked, because if they inspect my raw job specs, as a death mage who literally cannot cast spells, I am getting instantly shadow banned. Stepping up first is Marcus, our tryhard class rep, rocking a B-tier passive as a blade main. His signature/ability totally melts right through. Instructor pierces armor like it is wet paper. Remember, this teacher guy is a mid-level spear main, so even if tanking is not his meta build, he is still level 25 blade mains. Truly live up to the hype. As the ultimate DPS carries, next up is Zoe, our local healer. Even though she is stuck at level 4, she already unlocked the massive AoE heal spell, Spring Breeze buff. Meanwhile, Stella's raw combat power is equally cracked out of her mind, the Holy Barrier. She casts, does not just soak aggro, but actually reflects heavy damage right back. Kenny's kit is way more insane. Dude can 0 frame cast, Earth Burst without any annoying chanting. Delay pulling off that kind of sweaty tech usually requires grinding past the noob phase yet. Kenny is literally just level 5 for a hot second instructor. Pierce is utterly shook, trying to figure out how Instructor Chen managed to power level 5 absolute smurfs all at once in just 12 months. Who does that? Even maybe he is some endgame OP boss who went AFK and camped in hiding for years. Fast forward a bit, and our boy is the only player left who has not run the gauntlet. When he hears I already dinged level 7, pure absolute disbelief washes over. Instructor Pierce's whole face. Not only am I rocking the mythical hidden death summoner job, but our MC is also 2 whole levels higher than the rest of the squad. He is totally hyping himself up to see exactly how busted my undead mob spawns are going to be actually no. In a literal flash, I just dash straight in while my fist is winding up to connect. The teacher feels this massive wave of pure cringe. He assumes my gaming sense is totally bottom tier trash in a real PvP lobby. Nobody would ever let a squishy caster close the gap, enough to pop an ability. But the very next frame, my knuckle sandwich heavily deletes his jawline entirely. What drops next makes the whole chat gasp for air and shock, because this basic auto attack just completely one-shotted a level 25 mid-tier veteran player. Even the other teacher, Red, who showed up to scout newbies, is totally lagging out. He legit thinks Pierce is throwing the match just to simp for our boy. Since everyone knows Dark Summoners have the most nerfed HP stats out of the whole roster. Am I right now? Instructor Pierce's brain is straight up overheating. If he did not frame perfect block that punch, he would be fully logged out. At this exact moment, I drop a casual "my bad, sorry coach," but because of my RNG traits, I dumped all my stat points into raw strength. So, I am really hoping to switch mains into the melee brawler course at Capital University. Inside their bruiser faction, reacting to this, Instructor Red explains that queuing up for a track totally outside your Locket character class has literally never been done before. So he is going to have to escalate a support ticket to the headmaster. A tiny bit later, the top dog admin of Capital University, Gideon, joins the server via hologram call. He claims he completely gets my weird build and says Capital University has an open lobby for me, 24/7 plus. If my 4 squad mates want in, they get an instant invite too. I walk right up to Headmaster Gideon and drop the heavy lore question boss. "Man, do you happen to know my dad, Jonathan? You hearing that?" Gideon instantly connects all the dots. Makes sense why he caught such a nostalgic vibe seeing my character model. For the first time, turns out my folks were actually both his former top-tier trainees back in the day, but it has been over 10 literal years since they last logged on together. Yet, before my parents vanished, they leaked info about custom instance dungeons to Gideon, meaning there is a super high chance my parents stashed some secret endgame loot inside my personal raid zone. Fast forward like a week, and I am standing right at a portal hub in the inner realm, getting ready to speedrun my custom dungeon, way ahead of schedule, fully clearing this before college starts. Drops massive resource loot boxes, and on top of that, it probably holds those hidden patch notes my parents left behind with a loud ding. The system pushes a notification that our dedicated raid instance is the Wandu Lair. The lore text pops up saying rumors talk about some ancient toxic mob faction. Welcome to the Kiandongnan Zone. Literally the most toxic server imaginable. These mobs specialize in crafting pure nightmare fuel bugs, the kind that literally use your internal organs as a spawn point. They just munch on your HP bar until you get completely wiped. Anyway, the main mission here is finding this mega sus cult, while basically doing a full pest control wipe on this entire cursed map. Quick heads up about this Wandalair raid. You need exactly 5 players to queue up, so the matchmaking algorithm is hooking our boy up with 3 randoms. After skimming the patch notes, the MC just sends it straight into the portal, and it does not take long to bump into our new squad mates. Checking their loadouts, we have got 2 pyromancers named Finn and Felix, plus a tanky dude going by. Drake fast forward a bit. The crew hits the very first puzzle room of the instance, staring down this massive rock barricade. Our frontline tank decides to take the initiative, popping his heavy strike right on the obstacle, but the game hits him with a big fat 0 damage error message. Looks like this barrier has totally maxed out its resistance stats, meaning the party actually has to use their brain cells to solve the riddle. Our MC is just dead, staring at the wall, running the calculations in his head, asking himself, is this trash really immune to all damage? Finn actually manages to guess part of the mechanic, but the MC is way ahead of them, straight up bypassing the lock entirely, by letting his broken base stats do all the heavy lifting. Pure muscle overloads the code every single time. The randoms are absolutely shook right now, asking themselves if they accidentally queued for a barbarian lobby instead of a caster zone. They are looking at him like he is hacking. He was actually. No. Even our boy is glitching out a bit, claiming he barely gave it a friendly tap, but getting past that just drops them into another blocked corridor. Though the environment design took a massive turn. The whole floor is literally drowning in these crimson spider lily assets. And before anyone can even touch the analog stick, some nasty purple fog drops, giving the entire squad a massive debuff aura. The server basically announces they are officially cooked, draining 3 HP flat out every 60 seconds. A literal timer until they get sent to the lobby. The MC clocks those sketchy flowers as the source immediately realizing they need to speedrun this room. And dip before their bars hit 0 turns, out the second barrier is just as squishy as the first, crumbling into death. The noobs in the party literally have their jaws on the floor right now. These logic checks were designed to test caster IQ, but why even bother with the intended mechanics? Right? Brute forcing makes all that completely useless. Clearing that loads at the squad into a massive open world zone where the HUD flashes a huge achievement, unlocked notification. They officially ticked off the primary quest box, finding the super sketchy Wandu faction base. Right on cue, this NPC with a deep tan and some wild custom cosmetics spawns in front of them, interrogating the crew about being out-of-towners before immediately scanning their debuffs and spotting the flower toxin, telling them to follow her pathing straight back to the Wanling hub if they want to get their hands on the cleanse potion, warning that if the status effect stacks too high, not even a top-tier healer is going to save their run. Our guy is throwing major side-eye at this sketchy NPC thinking, what kind of Dark Souls lore is this Wanling shrine? But right now, tagging along is literally the only non-fatal option. Fast forward the walking simulator sequence to their actual base. The legendary cure they get handed is this 5-venom stew which looks suspiciously like a bowl of pure liquefied roaches. Absolute nightmare material. But hey, the code works. The moment the liquid hits his stomach, the crimson flower debuff gets completely wiped from his stat screen. But the second the rest of the party downs their nasty potions, the parents of the NPC suddenly trigger a hostile dialogue tree, basically telling them to log out, because outsiders are permanently banned from WAN. But our friendly guide carries the charisma check, letting the squad crash at their spawn point until morning. As soon as the day-night cycle switches, she makes a break for the main altar. Turns out the server is running a super rare century cycle, lunar event, where the locals pop their ultimate defense buff, running this creepy server-wide raid mechanic, using non-guild members as literal spawn bait, sacrificing real players to keep their base safe. Who even designs a level? This twisted the squad is basically watching a horror movie from stealth mode, confirming this entire Wanling faction is completely deep into the bug-taming meta. Mob density on screen is actually crashing the frame rate with half the village grinding out this dark ritual. The crew decides to tactical retreat to plan their boss strategy. But back at the main event stage, the head raid boss of the shrine completely sees through their stealth stats, sending her minions to pull aggro on the hiding players, hyping them up as premium loot for the Bug Emperor, forcing the party to full sprint directly back to the friendly NPC's safe house. Right at that second, Finn is sweating actual buckets of pure anxiety. Because if those local clan members catch on to our actual mission, we are 100% getting served up as ritual offerings, right? Then in a creepy scratching sound echoes from the hallway, an absolute massive wave of zero Riz bugs start rushing our squad from literally every single angle. Our boy Finn completely panics and triggers his firewall defense ability, completely freaking out, while I am just swinging my magic stick, swatting away these pests. Then it hits me. These low-level mobs are so incredibly mid that my stats are not moving at all, which is such a scam since farming this massive horde would normally drop insane XP for my build. Meanwhile, my dude Kenny drops a sick crowd control combo to heavily nerf their movement speed, just a hot second after that. Some random dude slowly walks up to us, flexing about how he originally planned to show off the raw power of the Wandu base. But dude is totally shook that we just wiped out the creepy crawlies he basically worships as literal gods. So now he claims we are cooked, saying our only future is becoming straight up bug food. This guy standing there looking super sus is just your average Wonderland NPC, rolling by the name Cancer, but do not let that basic rank fool you, because his health and attack stats absolutely dwarf my entire squad. Well, everyone except for me, obviously. Then my gamer brain starts cooking. Is it even possible for devs to make a secret starter zone? This insane. We must be missing some massive speedrun glitch here, so I literally launch myself forward like an absolute heat-seeking missile, closing the gap. Onto this Cancer dude, instantly hitting him with a single devastating punch that sends him flying across the room, completely destroying his ego before he triggers his hyper-buffed bug consumer form. The whole squad is dropping their jaws right now, pure absolute shock, watching his power level and everything else, making him look totally OP. Wait, actually, no. Literally, 2 seconds later, This cancer guy is already groveling on the floor, like a total scrub. Totally defeated, while I force him to spill all the tea about this weird ceremony, my guy completely breaks and leaks the entire Wandu lore, explaining how his people basically signed a binding contract with the ultimate bug queen boss, strictly demanding that whenever the moon is complete, they have to deliver living, breathing bodies to the slaughter, pointing out this super old stone hole where the giant insect matriarch actually lives and spawns her babies. Hearing this massive lore drop makes Kenny instantly connect the dots, realizing that the sweet little girl and her parents only healed our toxic debuffs, solely because they had already tagged us as the premium meat for their next tribute. I immediately hit this cancer dude with the real $1,000,000 question. Why did that kid call this place the Wanling Safe Haven when you are out here calling it the Wandu Cult Base? The dude looks completely lost, muttering that all the clan kids were shipped off hours ago to set up the dark magic stuff, but then a huge light bulb goes off in his head. Remembering that their head honcho literally loves cosplaying as a tiny child, the second he finishes that crazy sentence, I just smash my fist right into his skull. Hearing that sweet system chime, confirming I just bagged my very first melee takedown on a scripted character, securing an absolutely legendary S-tier loot drop called Sage Ward that literally gives you a free respawn if you take fatal damage. Basically a cheat code. Once you equip it, I am straight up grinning like a madman right now, considering S-tier gear is literally the god tier meta in this inner server. Meanwhile, my teammates are having a collective mental breakdown, crying about how if a basic random mob from this cult is packing that much heat, we are absolutely cooked if the main raid boss decides to show up and wipe the I calm the boys down by reminding them our objective is just doing pest control, and as for the crazy cultist locals, we do not have to actually team wipe them. We just need to find a tiny window to completely nuke that nasty spawning pool fast forward to us running back. The whole freaky ceremony is completely done, but out of nowhere, we spot the kids, parents just knocked out cold, right by the cursed hole following my shot, calling. The squad unloads absolutely every single high DPS ultimate ability directly into the crater total team wipe, causing an earth-shattering explosion that leaves a massive crater in the dirt. But Kenny senses some super bad RNG incoming, because any normal bug would be vaporized by that damage output. Yet the server did not even give us a single notification. Confirming the mission was a success, suddenly the most terrifying voice imaginable creeps up on our blind spot, dropping the shadow of the actual Wandu, leader slowly creeping out from the pitch-black shadows. I do not even hesitate to totally her real disguise, asking if she is that exact same kid who scrubbed our Venom debuff. The boss immediately puts 2 and 2 together, seeing us standing there. Realizing that Cancer Dude completely fumbled his assignment, she shifts back instantly, shape-shifting right back into that innocent-looking toddler, flashing this super fake helpless smirk while claiming our aggressive playstyle has absolutely triggered the bug matriarch, meaning her only option left is to sacrifice our entire squad to the boss. I totally cut her off, bro. Are we really supposed to trust a leader who literally feeds her own? You really do not need to keep acting like the good guy. Here, the cult leader just scoffs and violently rips off her innocent disguise right in front of her actual flesh and blood parents. This bug lady is basically speedrunning her villain arc by deleting anyone blocking her XP grind, and bro, our boy is literally seeing red right now. The sheer audacity of this mob dropping the parent card on him is wild. He has been craving a family reunion for ages, so watching her mock that trauma makes him feral. Then she gets super toxic, claiming she is about to send him to the afterlife to meet his mom and dad, right before summoning a whole lag spike of nasty bugs, while that crusty sub-boss Brutus from the Wonju lair totally hogs the aggro of the other 4 party members. Our MC is just spamming his melee weapon to swat these pests away, totally aware that this drawn-out stalling tactic is completely cooked. But wait, he has that cracked sage buff equipped for a free revive, meaning he can just unga boonga and rush her down without throwing hands like an absolute madman. He charges the main villain while she just smirks, watching his character model vanish into her insect swarm. She is coping so hard, thinking her little pest control jutsu is enough to nerf our boy. But guess what? He literally phases right through her hitbox, ripping a massive critical strike right across her stomach. She starts whispering some sus magic words and heals the damage right up, prompting the system to pop a message, stating this boss just triggered her ultimate devouring phase. Honestly though, our MC is low-key confused right now. Why is this supposed rare tier boss packing base stats that look weaker than a basic cancer mob? Is the game just bugged? Zoning out for a split second costs him big time, as she lands a massive haymaker that single heavy attack just chunks. Basically his entire health pool, leaving him 1 pixel away from popping that revive item. Meanwhile, the squad is fighting for their lives, stuck in a brutally sweaty raid, because Brutus is genuinely built different as an elder class mob of Wonju rendering. All their combo attacks completely useless against his tank build, making the big guy super arrogant, wondering why these trash tier noobs even bothered queuing up for this zone. But his smug aura vanishes real quick when some weird crimson sand traps his entire character model as a massive energy spike drops, completely deleting Brutus from the server in front of everyone, replacing where Kenny just was with this absolutely majestic gigachad, leaving the whole squad totally shook, wondering who spawned this Rizzler seriously. Where did this guy come from? Until the dude opens his mouth and sounds exactly like Kenny bro, is just as clueless about his own glow, up realizing that in literally some insane buff just melted all his body fat, shooting his spirit attribute up by nearly 300 points. And since that stat scales directly with magic, damage slapping 300 points into it basically turns him into a mid-level sorcerer. Seeing this, our boy instantly barks at Kenny to drop his heaviest nuke right on top of him. Kenny completely freezes up knowing friendly fire is definitely on, and this would totally wipe our MC too. But then he realizes that trusting the shot caller has hard carried them this far. So our boy must have cooked up a galaxy brain strat, meaning Kenny just sends his max level Earth Blast right at him. The boss completely loses her cool and starts panicking, absolutely dreading getting sent back to the lobby. But our MC just grabs her, laughing, saying, "Sorry, it is too late." A massive cloud of dust completely blinds the whole map, and a few seconds later, the system spams the chat with notifications, confirming a fatal hit, popping the Sage item and reviving Juyu completely damage-free plus, rewarding his absolutely insane clutch energy with a brand new A-rank passive ability called Strength Pact. Reading the tooltip shows every 50 extra hit points passively stacks an extra point of raw power, and throwing 1 point into power gives back 10 extra hit points, which is basically a broken S-tier loop, letting his tankiness and damage infinitely scale off each other. Sitting at a base power of 166 right now translates to a free 1,660 bonus hit points, essentially multiplying his total life bar by 2. Kenny wanders over, looking totally lost, realizing the raid is not over, since the victory screen is nowhere to be found. I mean, right as the creepy silhouette of the boss slowly fades back in through the fur, clearing smoke, flexing a super toxic smirk, while dropping a villain laugh, admitting she totally slept on their DPS, but from now on, she's about to try hard and sweat for real, instantly morphing her character model into this nightmare fuel human bug hybrid, proving this is her actual phase 2 form. Watching her new stat sheet absolutely dwarf her old one, as the UI flashes a massive red danger text, screaming that the boss of the Wonju dungeon just got hard buffed by some mystery code, pushing her threat level way past the tutorial scaling, unlocking the cower button for players to officially rage quit the run, making Kenny heavily consider just Alt F4ing out of there because they could always farm this loot later, whereas getting totally wiped means their accounts get completely deleted. But our boy is fully locked, in remembering Director Gideon specifically tasked him to 100% clear this zone. This locked zone is basically a treasure map for tracking down our boys, missing folks, but the big bad is staring him down like he's straight up garbage. She genuinely thinks he's totally cooked. Suddenly, they are just throwing absolute hands in the paint, trading massive blows, leaves our dude tanking heavy chip damage. Yet the monster is the one absolutely shaking in her boots. Back in the day, a sloppy jab from her would have totally one-shotted him, but check the replay right now. Even fully buffed after assimilating that creepy bug matriarch, she is getting heavily outplayed. Technically our guy is hard, coded as a spellcaster, so why the heck is his melee DPS completely dwarfing hers? Connecting the dots, the monster accidentally blurts out if he belongs to that sketchy faction called Base, right? As she spits that out. Our boy swings his magical rod like a baseball bat, telling her to stop yapping, and that playing dumb will not stop this beatdown flashing forward through the combo string. He lands a critical bonk right on her dome, right before her HP hits 0. The big bad suddenly gets a massive reality check, sensing some insane familiar aura dripping off our MC like the exact same vibes as her omnipotent creator. Then the server pops up a massive victory screen, confirming he utterly clapped a mystery mob using 0 magic, handing over 15 sweet stat points. Quest line for this toxic cave is officially wiped clean. Looking at the lobby leaderboards, Drake gets hit with a fat F tier, while Fine and Felix secure a mid-E tier. Kenny pulls off a highly respectable A tier, but obviously our absolute Chad takes the highest DPS crown locking in an S tier rating. Bag secures a high tier magic tome from Kashagate, pushing his overall level straight to 10. Yet, our boy is nowhere near satisfied. Hitting that milestone just means he finally left the tutorial zone to join the genuine noob bracket. Speaking of the inner realm, loot pool slaying that elite dropped the chaotic arachnide gear from Rambly, hooking the user up with 800 raw horsepower, perfectly syncing up with his OP passive, plus everything else spiked. Wait, there is also this weird blocky artifact. The flavor text claims some god tier energy is locked inside it, blinking twice. That geometric prism literally phases right into our dude's chest. His interface flashes green, confirming he just unlocked the ultimate wall hack for scanning enemy profiles. Works on anybody within 10 levels of his own rank. His eyes completely bug out from the sheer hype. This sentient code basically force-adopted him simultaneously, jacking up his fundamental stats to the moon, packing some hidden ultimate skill tree waiting in the wings. Just then, the pointy-eared NPC guide, Elaine casually strolls over, dropping the huge news that they actually managed to full clear the restricted sector. Nabbing that world first clear for Wandu, handing out a one-time mega buff, boosting their mental stat by 20 whole %. Our boy is straight up flabbergasted, even though that bonus sounds absolutely broken on paper. Multiplying 0 by anything still leaves you flat. Broke, my guy. So this grand prize is basically a massive troll cutting, instantly to the next morning, reset. Marcus is losing his absolute mind, seeing our MC hit the level 10 milestone. He is completely shook because melee locked grinding zones spawn way more frequently than the caster ones, meaning sword mains always speedrun their early game progression way faster than squishy wizards. Somehow our magic boy matched his brutal grind schedule, but the real mystery keeping the chat on edge revolves entirely around Kenny, bro. Went AFK for 24 hours and came back with a completely brand new vibe. Then Zoe chimes in, dropping massive intel. Their entire 5-stack got that early access pass to the top tier academy, yet none of them actually queued up for the massive Inner Realm tournament kicking off this season. This giant server-wide bracket is basically a brutal survival gauntlet, designed to weed out the absolute scrubs. Typically, even the VIP students jump straight into the current ranked ladder. Everybody is sweating buckets trying to secure that top ranker title. Pulling off a victory there guarantees insane clout and bottomless bags of gold. Normally tossing in an A-tier artifact as a bonus, but the dev team went crazy. This patch chat is spamming that some pure RNG ultra-rare S-tier drop is on the line. After a quick Discord huddle, the squad locks in their registration for the ultimate bloodbath. You literally cannot put a price tag on legendary shiny loot. While fast-traveling back to base, a duo of randoms blocks his path. Our boy instantly enters tryhard mode, demanding to know what their freaking deal is, completely dropping. All stealth. These guys interrogate him, asking if he is that famous caster named the exact guy who totally styled on the raid boss back in the Wandu dungeon. Instantly the gears start turning in his head, flashing back to when that giant bug name-dropped the base faction. Right before kicking the bucket is not. It's super obvious. These clowns belong to that exact syndicate, weighing his options. Our MC cooks up a massive fib, boldly claiming they got the wrong guy, and that his name is actually Marcus. Unfortunately, his persuasion roll totally fails, closing the gap to physically pin him down. Reacting instantly, he triggers his heavy iron dash to aggressively yeet one of them across the pavement. The partner in crime is absolutely losing his marbles. These rogue builds were specifically min-maxed to permanently delete spellcasters. Yet our supposedly squishy boy is casually tossing around grown adults using raw brawn, making the assassin wonder if he actually told the truth about his class. Since spellcasters have the physical strength of wet noodles, the dude starts throwing his hands together, begging for mercy, claiming he just got our boy's username mixed up in the heat of the moment. Apparently this scrub is barely ranked around 7,000 in his guild, so getting the lore completely wrong is just a regular Tuesday for them. But wait, is this Bay's syndicate actually built different? Because having a level 18 sweat, sitting all the way down at rank 7,000 is absolutely wild. Our MC decides to spare these bots, figuring that catching a body right now would just spawn way higher level bosses to deal with. He literally just waves them off, hits the pavement, and the second he gets back to his base, he starts furiously Googling, looking for any crumb of lore on this Bay's crew, finding out it is based on some pure white mythological god-tier pet rocking fire skins on its legs. Basically an ancient good luck charm meant to nerf evil spirits into the ground. But honestly, the wiki page is completely dry, and since those guys literally ganked him on the sidewalk, chilling at home is totally chalked. His only viable strat left is to speedrun his entry into the inner realm grand exams. Because all the players in that lobby get massive admin protection, and bagging that win lets him slide straight into Capital University, where the security is actually overpowered, mostly because Headmaster Gideon is famously the most cracked blade main in the entire inner server. So our guy pulls that mysterious glowing block right out of his inventory. He still has no idea what kind of broken stats this thing holds, but then a massive brain blast hits him. Could this actually be the Easter egg his mom and dad dropped to help track their location? Meanwhile, on the other side of the map, those two absolute clowns crawl back to their guild chat to report a massive skill issue, crying that the database was completely fake news, telling their admins the target is definitely not playing a caster class, since he literally one-shotted them with pure melee damage. Fast forward 2 days of grindings, our boy pulls up to the faculty lounge, begging instructor Chen for a carry, hoping the teacher can identify his shiny new drop, and after giving it a quick vibe check, Chen confirms this loot box is hard-locked behind raw energy, meaning normal passwords are useless, and you strictly need the mythical admin key to bypass the firewall if you actually want to keep the legendary gear inside from otherwise Chen would have just curb-stomped it open. So our mech immediately asks what dungeon drops this magical skeleton key. Since he has literally never seen it on the drop tables, he fast travels straight to the Mechanopolis hub. Chen leaked to him. Back in the day, the AI NPCs became fully sentient here, kicking off a massive PvP war between flesh and steel. Eventually, both factions got tired of losing XP and signed a truce, carving up the map into safe zones, leaving the organic players to camp in Mechanopolis, while the cyborgs got completely banished to the Mecha Kingdom, which is literally a legendary rank E raid zone, and our boy needs to track down Lord Warren right here to trigger a secret questline for that ultra-rare decryption tool, considering this guy is pretty much the most famous biotech streamer. On the human server, suddenly his radar pings as he spots a squad of griefers bullying some random boomer. Seeing this toxic behavior, our MC rolls up, demanding these low levels hit the floor and beg for forgiveness right now. One of the punks gets unbelievably salty, triggered because no one has ever ratioed him this hard in public. Boom, instant wipe. Our guy simply flexes a combat stance and sends that bozo flying a full 100 meters into the skybox. Watching their homie get instantly deleted leaves, the rest of the squad violently shook, aggressively, bowing to the old man 10 times in a row. The grandpa waddles over, dropping massive praise. But our MC just plays it cool, saying he does not need the honor points. Then asks if he has the coordinates for Lord Warren, making the boomer suddenly pause like his game crashed. Turns out the old-timer actually has VIP access, so shortly after our boy is tailing him straight to a massive fortress. But in a single server tick, the grandpa literally despawns, though our MC is not even sweating it, assuming the NPC just had a priority side mission and left the party, but the second he breaches the main gate, my jaw dropped. This random grandpa is literally the myth, the legend Lord Warren himself, and those toxic street thugs were secretly his maximum level bodyguards running a fake random encounter just to scout a top-tier carry who could actually handle the heat. And seeing our boy's insane riz, he immediately drops a raid invitation, promising to trade the master key if we clear it, because tomorrow Warren is hosting a massive tech summit to drop his new lore on bio, an artificial synergy but deep in the shadows. Rival clans are plotting to steal his patch notes, making our only objective for tomorrow straight up unaliving the Mecha Kingdom boss. And ripping out his cybernetic core, the clock fast forwards to the next server reset, and our boy spawns at the academic hall, just camping the lobby, waiting for this sus mafia to finally show their faces. Literally 2 hours later on the dot, some absolute unit drops from the sky like a meteor looking straight out of cyberpunk. Gotta be that shady guild that Lord Warren warned us about. Dude is built different. The whole security squad combined looks like complete fodder next to him. Meanwhile, in another zone, some sus shadow dude just spawns and completely dead-ass spamming some unknown ability, and basically kidnaps Lord Warren right off the map. But wait! This was totally Big Brain Warren playing 4D chess. Back at the main fight, our squad looks totally cooked. So, the metalhead starts yapping and acting cocky, telling us to just log out since his upgrades make him untouchable, claiming we stand zero chance. Our boy steps up and cuts off his monologue. Who does this tin can think he is? Zero hesitation. Our MC just straight up decks him, one single nasty haymaker, absolutely nukes his health bar to 1 health point. The cyborg is totally shook, considering the big boss personally buffed his stats. Yet a basic human just punched straight through his shiny metal plating. After that, our MC tracks a hidden blip on the radar, which was the actual master plan he cooked up with Warren beforehand. The old man threw the match on purpose just to drop a scent trail, giving us the exact coordinates to the mecha faction base. Cut back to the shadow guy, dumping lore about the kidnapping. Apparently they crafted a cybernetic core that was supposed to merge with organic tissue, but the code is totally bugged, basically evolving into a rogue metal parasite that feeds on actual life force, needing a daily drop rate of like 3 human souls just to stay online. So they dragged Warren here to patch the glitch, putting the old man in a massive lose-lose situation. Fix the core and watch more innocent people get turned into walking toasters. Like, how do you even choose, right? Let the machine keep snacking on random civilians anyway. Meanwhile, our MC is basically speedrunning through the low-tier mob spawns outside. What actually blows his mind is how grinding these tin cans drops free stat points. Flash forward a bit, and he breaches the boss room where Warren is caged, the creepy shadow dude. Snaps his neck around, the second our MC aggroes the room, hitting him with the "Welcome to the legendary robot empire" speech bro, with stream sniping the security cams and offers a deal to upgrade our boy, promising to make him the most overpowered cyborg in the meta if he joins them. But Warren yells out that the glowing core right there is the main quest target. Just smash it to pieces and we get the victory screen. Our guy opens the combo by literally launching the shadow dude across the room, then casually strolls up to the metal engine, flexing every muscle before unleashing an absolute barrage of fists, just 2 seconds of button mashing. Later, a system pop-up confirms the kill-on, the Marta core engine. Right then, the shadow guy finally respawns from the stagger, completely switching up his vibe. I mean, who saw that coming? Admitting that, even though he holds the king title, the real final boss of this server is actually Empress Mikina herself. Apparently, Her Majesty already knows our boy trashed the Marta engine, but if he switches teams to the robot faction right now, they will wipe his wanted level completely clean. Our MC is honestly pretty shook by this lore drop, since Warren hyped this shadow guy up like he was the undisputed top dog. But suddenly there is a secret empress pulling the strings, thinking about it for a sec. Our boy plays along to go check out this so-called empress, but halfway down the hall when Shadow Bro drops his guard, wham, another critical strike straight to the dome, wiping his health. Our guy legit almost forgot the side quest from Warren, which was to permanently delete the king of the rust buckets. Sure enough, the loot drop triggers instantly, securing the master key, plus the massive XP yield spikes, all his other stats and bumps. Our boy straight to level 11, officially unlocking his starter mage class. Our MC figures this mysterious empress chick must be waiting in the next room because the mana spikes are off the charts, which is exactly why he chose to spawn camp. The king early, but instant regret hits him 1 second later, realizing he is now soft-locked in front of a heavy vault door requiring a pin code. Whatever, though he barely sweats it, just straight up uninstalls the steel door from its hinges with pure brute force. But plot twist of the century, this menacing mecha empress is literally just built like an ordinary human girl. Crazy, right? Catching our boy looking completely bamboozled. She just casually drops the confirmation that she is indeed the big bad he has been hunting all day. The system interface pops up, confirming her identity with absolutely cracked stats for an epic tier N PC, sitting comfortably at level 48, rocking 100,000 health points, an absolute unit with stats so insane she could literally, an A rank boss casually dropping into a C rank lobby makes 0 sense. But before our boy can even process this broken matchmaking, Empress Machina pops some crazy crowd control skill, instantly freezing his avatar and slowly reeling him in like a caught fish. She practically whispers that she is not about to delete his save file, so chill out, and then casually slaps her right palm straight onto his forehead, forcefully hacking directly into our main character's brain. Turns out this mechanical royalty is basically trapped in her own server, never touching grass outside, because her whole dungeon zone is stuck in an endless reboot loop. constantly wiping her hard drive back to default settings whenever random players stumble across Warren's warrant and trigger that secret side mission. Yet despite thousands of server wipes, our GOAT is literally the only player who ever glitched past the intended path to actually find her boss room, clicking together the pieces of her master plan. Our MC basically tells her to just one-shot him already. Wait, no, he actually could ever expect to break the hard-coded physics of the game world. But Her Royal Highness completely leaves him on red, straight up cracking open her own chassis to rip out her glowing cybernetic core, claiming that the system code is actually super easy to cheese, flashing an insane rank drop called the Mecha Queen Heart, which she explains will literally spawn a whole new clone of her if he keeps it in his inventory long enough, using this wild Bluetooth connection to finally leech his real-life senses and experience the open-world map through his eyes. Our MC is absolutely shook hearing this. Like, am I really watching a literal NPC achieve sentience and casually jailbreak her own Honestly though, this is a massive win for him, so he immediately clicks accept on her prompt, and the UI goes crazy, celebrating his flawless clear of the mechanical zone, handing him a sweet A-tier completion grade alongside this busted B-tier spell tome for holding enemies completely hostage. Plus, throwing in a C-tier item to boost his tech stats, and the second our boy fast travels back to the hub city, he immediately burns his master key, cracking open that mystery loot box expecting some mid-tier garbage, but getting absolutely blindsided by a mythical, revealing the legendary Azure Dragon Crescent Blade. Definitely a secret legacy drop from his missing folks. But wait, that he would randomly need close combat gear at this exact stage of his build. He was actually before he can even theory craft Coach Chen, absolutely bombards his location because the massive server-wide tournament is literally kicking off right now. Cut to the main event arena in the royal capital, where the sweaty tryhards from the elite First Academy are currently beefing hard with our underdog 4th Academy squad, whining that the whole bracket is paused just because our main guy is acting like a total AFK, loudly trash-talking, that our garbage tier academy should just log off and forfeit before embarrassing themselves, basically roasting them. Since historically the 4th Academy rosters only exist to be cannon fodder, NPCs for the real players during these big tournaments, especially compared to the First Academy, who have been aggressively gatekeeping the champion title for 3 entire seasons straight. Thankfully, our boy clutches the spawn timer and loads into the lobby with 0 seconds to spare, which only makes the rich kid squad tilt even harder, absolutely molding that the supposedly important VIP who delayed their speedrun is literally rocking default-looking gear, but our MC just scans their usernames and smirks right back with ultimate disrespect, practically daring them to keep that same chaotic energy when the hitboxes go live. And seconds later, the head admin blasts the starting horn over the speakers, explaining that this massive battle royale is running on a hardcore points ladder format, where catching a win bags you 2 shiny points while catching a loss taxes you 1+, throwing in an extra multiplier for anyone riding a hot win streak, gracefully sparing the total noobs from extra penalties if they chain feed, splitting the entire player base into separate arenas based on their specific character builds. The mechanics are pretty straightforward, relying on the classic Coliseum mod where your health bar locks at exactly 1 single hit point, completely turning off lethal damage, so nobody actually gets deleted from the server, meaning the game over screen only flashes or if some coward hits the forfeit button after dragging the match past 10, eventually taking the absolute sweatiest top 10 leaderboard grinders and tossing them into a brutal, the undisputed server champion. Meanwhile, up in the VIP viewing, the returning defending boss Drake logs on to spectate, already betting his entire reputation that this season's top tier slot is definitely getting bagged by his elite First Academy bros again. And speaking of the devil, my guy's very first matchmaking role pits him against Tyson Drake from that literally the exact same loudmouth who was barking in the lot. Our boy instantly dials up the savage meter, sarcastically gasping like, "Wait, you are the infamous Tyson My bad, bro. I genuinely thought you were just a random arrogant mob placed here for tutorial purposes," right? Forces them to flash their player cards to the audience, kicking off with the preppy kid flexing his level 9 electric magic apprentice title, immediately followed by our dark horse Ju casually dropping his level 11 novice necromancer stats, which instantly makes Tyson's confident smirk evaporate into pure panic, realizing our boy has already grinded up to the novice magic tier, a milestone strictly reserved for the endgame champion contenders, since lightning magic literally hard counters any undead build, right out of the box. Tyson starts waving his little wand around to spam an ability. Dropping Thunder Ring, all that loud, flashy nonsense on the battlefield instantly grabs the eyeballs of every single person in the stands. Because rolling a lightning element during Awakening is basically hitting the absolute jackpot. Even that sweaty tryhard valedictorian from last year named Drake gets super invested leaning in, because he desperately needs to spectate this matchup, wanting to see two top-tier magic classes throw hands but hold up. Actually, no. Our MC completely ignores his summoner staff right now. Straight up disrespect. Walking forward slowly, like he casually phasing straight through the lightning defense shield, like it was made of wet paper, leaving Tyson absolutely dripping with nervous sweat. What kind of absolute unit is our boy completely ignoring the most overpowered defensive skill? Tyson. Summoner classes are literally known for being ridiculously squishy glass cannons. So the whole crowd is utterly mind-blown, sharing that exact same thought. Our boy completely shatters the meta right here, closing the gap on his target and slapping some raw mechanical brass knuckles onto his right hand. A brutal crunching noise echoes out, sending that poor mage flying backwards out of bounds like a totally busted ragdoll physics glitch. His health bar instantly deletes down to one single hit point, though honestly, that absolutely disrespectful punch slapped him for over 1,000 raw damage. If they were fighting in literally any other unranked lobby, that guy would owe our MC5 whole respawns, making the entire audience pivot from super skeptical to absolutely shook. Watching a fragile summoner casually tanking hard, dealing over 1,000 physical damage on top of that, having the principal of Academy, one feeling completely scammed right now, especially since the player stats clearly say his main class is undeniably necromancer making. This entire brutal beatdown feel like a massive slap in the face for the admins until the gym named Chen drops some serious facts, pointing out the rulebook. Totally lacks any claws, stopping dark mages from grinding out their pure physical melee stats. Literally right at that exact second, a game mod teleports behind our boy, claiming his gameplay was way too sus, and somebody actually reported him for using aimbot or hacks, demanding an immediate account verification check, giving all the other sweatlords in the waiting room a massive chance to sigh in pure relief, desperately praying. Our main character is only this incredibly overpowered because of some illegal exploit, because knowing fully well that getting matched against him means securing an ultra-fast ticket back to the lobby. Meanwhile, our absolute unit walks right into the official anti-cheat scanning circle, totally following every single direction the moderation team barks out, but completely surprising the haters. The diagnostic software pings back absolutely zero weird glitches, proving his ridiculous one-punch damage was pure natural skill, forcing the head referee to announce that absolutely zero hacks were found, completely validating his crazy stats, soon after chilling. For a second, he flexes on the arena by spawning back in, completely crushing all their desperate little hopes again, seeing how the literal next guy in the bracket realizes he is cooked and instantly unplugs his keyboard to forfeit, utterly refusing to get humiliated on a live broadcast, pushing our guy straight up to a 5-point win streak, thanks to the consecutive victory multiplier buff, literally maxing out the entire scoreboard for only 2 consecutive rounds, initiating a completely hilarious trend where all the upcoming poor souls instantly smash the surrender button without even trying, pushing him straight to the 9th stage, where the shady developers at Academy 1 rig the matchmaking, deliberately locking him into a boss fight against Serena Chat from Academy 2, an insanely sweaty level 11 ice mage currently sitting in the rookie bracket, and right after the timer drops, our boy tightly equips that massive Azure Dragon Crescent Blade using both hands, aggressively rushing down Serena like a heavily caffeinated speedrunner, zipping across the map with insane velocity, prompting the Ice Queen to instantly panic, cast her absolute best defensive ice prison ability. Chuckling like an absolute menace, he buffs his wrist strength to let that heavy weapon spin beautifully, completely deleting all the frosty barricades spawning in his way. Right as he launches himself into the air, Serena randomly smirks at the camera, thinking she already secured the easiest victory of her life, perfectly timing his jump animation to drop her ultimate crowd control spell called Eternal Ice Wall, sending a wildly freezing neon blue shockwave, zooming across the arena and tagging his hitbox instantly, slapping him with a deep freeze debuff that locks his character model completely solid, making every single viewer up in the stands suddenly pity. All those earlier players who rage quit realizing our protagonist supposedly only had assuming basic stun mechanics are his actual weakness until the server admin completely ruins her celebration by pointing out the match is totally still active. From damage over time effects, instead of getting deleted down to 1 hit point, totally shaking her confidence, forcing the confused mage to awkwardly camp the corner, waiting for the inevitable, assuming his massive health pool will basically bleed out from the timer anyway. What she utterly fails to calculate is that this tiny tick damage would literally take a whopping 2 hours to fully delete his massive. Barely a minute later, massive glitchy cracks start forming all over her unbreakable frozen shield, leaving the totally clueless girl wondering how on earth is his health pool still not hitting that magical 1-point threshold, especially while her absolutely flawless defensive violently begins to shatter into a million pixels, revealing the absolutely terrifying shadow of our boy, slowly walking out of the frost, effectively confirming it is officially game over for her, considering all that desperate ability, spamming completely drained every single drop of her mana pool. Our boy goes absolutely goblin mode, completely speedrunning the opening bracket without even breaking a sweat, literally farming a flawless 10-game win streak in the prelims alongside 9 other players, who barely scraped their way into the Phase 2 battleground. Like, who would not want to secure that valedictorian crown, right? So our MC steps up, claiming the center ring, because during intermission, Serena from Academy 2 dropped some massive lore about match 9. Turns out the matchmaking was totally rigged by some admin behind the scenes trying to ban our boy from the server, way before endgame cut to a few seconds later, when this completely random shadow dude casually strolls into the arena, throwing down an insane deal offering 2.5 million cash if our guy just hits the surrender button. Bro, definitely stalked the wiki, reading about our MC growing up broke and orphaned, so he assumes we only logged into this tournament to farm clout and secure the bag. Honestly, hearing that garbage, our guy just bursts out laughing, saying he wishes the stats match the trash talk. Suddenly the vibe gets super toxic as the dude flexes his tag. Vincent Gray from Academy 1, a literal newbie tier shadow mage processing that info. I am instantly realizing, how could this bozo be the troll rigging the brackets? Right then Vincent starts sweating, his APM casting some weird spell, whispering absolute nonsense before dropping a massive ultimate to spawn his edgy minions, just like the Necromancer build. This shadow class is super rare, RNG, so the whole chat is heavily glued to their screens, expecting an absolute cinematic boss fight. Honestly, our boy is actually catching feelings of shock right now, realizing the summoned mobs from this rich kid are actually low-key goated, rivaling top-tier undead units, but thankfully, our protagonist Grinder has leveled his physical stats into the absolute stratosphere, casually swinging the Azure Dragon Crescent Blade like it is a wet noodle, totally wiping the board until only 3 pathetic shadow creeps remain, leaving Vincent completely shook. Like, who even said necromancers were glass cannons, right? Our guy is built like a raid boss, but the second we clear those mob drops, Vincent hits us with a villain smirk and activates a secret passive called Sacrificial Shadow Assimilation. Instantly, the damage from our combo vanishes from his arm, while suddenly, the right hand of our boy starts catching some incredibly sus phantom damage, definitely figuring out this toxic mechanic where hitting the avatar drains our own health bar. But dodging around without landing direct hits means we literally cannot win this stage. Then Vincent equips a throwing knife and straight up sinks it right into his own chest cavity with a gross sound, making our own HP bar completely tank. This dude is moving like a total psycho, standing there with a pierced heart, totally chilling, without a scratch. And even though the reflection multiplier is nerfed, the pain feedback is insanely realistic. What chat definitely did not predict was Vincent taking the griefing to maximum level by gripping that blade. Is this guy seriously trying to end his own bloodline right now? Literally a millisecond before disaster, our boy whips out the Azure Dragon Crescent Blade to parry that knife straight into orbit. But Vincent totally baits us using that opening to spam his shadow assimilation hack, again reflecting damage that instantly deletes 500 health points from our pool. Even as a rare hidden class, this tryhard should not possess such a completely broken exploit. Guessing that weird dark fog wrapping him is basically his cooldown penalty. So, our boy actually calls him out, saying the gimmick is solved, betting that one solid hook will permanently log him out. Hearing this threat, Vincent completely brushes it off, flexing his ego by claiming his build has literally zero counterplay, all while secretly charging up some heavy purple aura sphere behind his back. Suddenly both players aggressively dash in, clashing like an absolute anime finale. The exact frame he tries, spamming that shadow reflection nonsense. Our boy drops a massive nuclear punch straight onto his dome, noticing the raw panic painting his face. Like, if the theory was actually wrong, why is he desperately trying to block this strike? So our guy just maxes out his strength slider, instantly snapping his defensive barrier into 1,000,000 pixels. Vincent is absolutely losing his mind right now, since that dark shield is programmed to tank heavy hits from elite bosses yet against our MC. It completely folds like wet cardboard, walking up to him with pure menace, saying, "It is a bit too late to start shaking now." Literally one blink later, bro starts leaking this insane dark energy everywhere, looking at his current build. Our guy basically did a fusion dance with his shadow summons. Vincent straight up admits he is running a hybrid setup right now, and with this massive buff, he could effortlessly solo any physical brawler in his level bracket. The dude is glitching across the map with busted movement speed. My DPS completely whiffs because he is just too fast to track. Actually, wait, no. The crowd watching this live is absolute like, hold on. Wasn't this supposed to be the Mage Queen tournament? Why is everyone so confused? Because right out of nowhere, it literally feels like we queued up for a heavy tank melee championship instead. 2. Absolute losers are seething with pure rage. Yeah, those are the exact same hitmen who tried to gank our onk like 48 hours. They are realizing they got completely played like a cheap fiddle. Finding out my actual bounty name is Joju and not Marcus, like I casually lied about. Oh, we are definitely having a rematch later, but pivoting back. Back at the main arena, Vincent is absolutely losing his mind. He dropped his ultimate final boss form, but still cannot carry the lobby, and worse. His try-hard mode is on a strict cooldown timer if he does not secure the kill right. This second he is totally cooked once the buff expires. Realizing he is about to throw the match, the dude panics and pops a ridiculously OP skill called Sacrificial Shadow Stone. Seeing this immediately sends the headmaster of Academy 1 into a full mental breakdown because he specifically banned Vincent from ever equipping that exact move. Literally one wrong click and the entire server gets nuked into oblivion. Right then we instantly clash in another absolutely brutal combo chain. Every single time we trade hits, the shockwaves are deafening. It feels like an earthquake dropping, but still nobody is getting the quick finish, and then out of nowhere, I catch this weird shadow clipping right over my hitbox. Next thing I know, I wake up from being fully blacked out, and my internal radar inside some random metal shipping crate looking around. I see basically half the server of top-tier rookies just chilling here, meaning this is totally a coordinated mob spawn designed to farm all the high-rank players. Right when I figure it out, this super sus dude rocking a dark cloak starts creeping up on me like a total weirdo, telling the squad to chill out. Claiming this VIP treatment is just because they recognize our absolute top-tier grinding skills. Meet Scarlet, the big boss lady running the local base syndicate operations in Sioux City, and catching her whole villain monologue makes me realize base is literally just a completely unhinged cartel, randomly snatching up innocent exam grinders right under the sun during the most stacked server event of the year. While back at the main hub, the pro tournament judges, alongside the top academy devs, are sweating bullets trying to patch together an emergency. Actually, no, scratch that. An absolute panic rescue actually survived the knockout stages, meaning our boy is safe from getting permabanned for the moment, but dodging that bullet aside. 4 other entire servers across the map are getting totally griefed by the exact same mass kidnapping bugs, meanwhile, right in the thick of it. I am just staring down these supposed high-tier restraints seriously. Who even thought these cuffs could hold our boy? Casually flexing a tiny fraction of my jaw strength, I am carrying the whole lobby on my back by popping open the main vault door right as Scarlet spots our jailbreak on the minimap feed, and instantly, she rallies her whole sweaty clan to rush our position, practically pulling her hair out, trying to figure out how we glitched through her unbreakable hardware. Since those base syndicate cuffs are heavily hard-coded to severely nerf any physical bruiser class. Capped at level 20, completely impossible for any mid-tier noob to bypass, but obviously Jerry catches the hype, looking absolutely smug, dropping the most casual tutorial ever, just telling her, and boom, you are totally out, leaving her brain dead while our whole squad literally clips out of reality by triggering an emergency pocket dimension instance. leaving Scarlet throwing an absolute rage quit tantrum. Knowing if she camps our spawn point waiting for the instance raid to finish, the Sioux City heavy-hitting mods are definitely going to crash her party, forcing her whole toxic guild to tactically log off for now. While over on our side of the screen, we just booted up a totally random E-rank instance, dropping a quest log to rush Vulture Peak and hard counter this Hamba dude from respawning. Wait, how is our boy the only player spawned in this lobby? Did the server matchmaking absolutely crash and scatter the whole raid party across totally different random maps? Plus the vibes in this specific zone are giving major Seuss energy. If I am keeping somehow, I got hard locked into this totally cooked, dried up zombie skin, completely railroaded into following some random shepherd. NPC, I am tailing his path straight into the main shepherd stronghold, fast forwarding through 2 hours of dead air until two totally random shadowy figures slowly start breaking into the main lobby, turning out to be, wait, never mind, they are just local undertakers looking for a quick coin drop, trying to trade with the main NPC. But the dude is completely offline on a C quest, leaving just his low-level intern to babysit my supposedly dead avatar. And straight up, this shady mortician catches sight of me with major dollar signs in his eyes, thinking my premium cosmetic skin has way too much riz to just bury plotting to auction my body off to some whale VIPs for massive loot. Totally ignoring the sweaty intern, basically throwing hands, trying to block the transaction, getting ready to aggressively kidnap my AFK body, forcing me to finally unmute my mic and drop the most cursed demonic audio, snapping them right out of their greed trance as I brutally rip off the ceiling item right off my avatar head, sending the poor rookie into pure panic mode. Realizing his guildmaster was actually spitting facts, like, why would you ever poke a sleeper mob without expecting an instant team wipe? Back to the main fight, the Undertaker completely skips the shock animation, instantly charging up his main attack, dropping a heavy crowd control spell to lock down my hitbox. But our boy just counters with a single raw melee strike, launching his entire flying across the map, actually touching real skin, makes the scammer realize this absolutely is not your standard zombie mob script, since my avatar is completely lacking that toxic rotting aura debuff. And right before he can finish his dialogue, the system drops a massive pop-up, confirming my active status as full undead, massively buffing my physical armor stats by a flat 100%, but wildly leaving me completely wide open to getting totally nerfed by basic exorcist class mechanics. And the most brutal handicap of all is getting 0 natural regeneration on my hit points and mana bar, perfectly explaining how that shepherd dude was able to absolutely spam capture mechanics on me. Earlier, honestly, this whole low-tier E is serving up some seriously gourmet gameplay mechanics right before the mortician totally panics and tags his duo partner Ali to tank the aggro, promising he can drop an ultimate finishing move to delete my glitched-out character model once his casting bar fills up. But honestly, who trusts a teammate with a cast time that long? Getting absolutely folded by my maxed-out physical damage multipliers, begging his carry to rush the cast time before he gets completely wiped. Catching the most toxic response imaginable, just telling him to chill as the mortician totally abandons the lobby without a second glance. But before Ali can even drop a toxic, he witnesses an absolute nuke of kinetic energy blitzing right past him directly at his runaway teammate, triggering a massive system drop. Massive GGs in the chat for clapping the mortician mini-boss, securing a fat 75 experience points, and mopping up the sidekick Ali with pure fists for a juicy 10 free stat points, while everything else spiked, strolling right over to the premium loot box that the dead guy lugged all the way here, as the scanner identifies this bad boy as the ultimate spirit-locking casket, dropping heavy lore hints that literally going AFK inside this thing rolls the RNG for some totally broken passive. Bro, I was completely shook when I popped the lid off that loot box and saw our girl Zoe just chilling inside. Suddenly she boots up from rest mode, and my brain finally clicked that sneaky dev buys literally snatched up 10 players total for this twisted lobby. Logging into this cursed server basically turned all of us into living NPC quest objectives, processing that nasty reality check. I violently shake the newbie mage awake, whispering that if he wants to avoid a game over, he better keep his mouth permanently glued shut. About our little secret literal seconds later, the shepherd NPC spawns right into the rookie immediately points at Zoe and lies through his teeth, claiming he stumbled upon a crusty zombie roaming outside the property. Flexing hard, he brags about burning all his stamina to pin her down, which the oblivious shepherd buys without a single persuasion check, The old man just barks at the kid to speed up the pace, because a massive main story event is dropping at Vulture Peak. Fast forward a bit, and we are trailing the shepherd into Apricot Village near the mountain, since his high-level older brother uses it as a spawn point. Dude is currently pinging the entire clan roster to group up and permanently ban the corpse King Raid boss that is about to drop. Right up on that jagged cliff, and just like my big brain predicted, the rest of the kidnapped players are basically hanging out. Inside this very same compound, he was actually... No. The sheer scale of this freak show has the poor intern absolutely losing his mind. Like, who actually expects glitching back into the physical realm? We then tail the old man straight into the creepy underground boss room. Though before hitting this loading zone, our boy extracted some vital lore drops from the nervous kid. Apparently, this is the 5th time the shepherd has tried to spam the dark summon exploit on the king, and glitchy zombie avatars like us are the literal fuel items needed for the magic circle. But the second my boots touch the crypt floor, a massive plot twist slaps us in the face. The older brother is suddenly rapid-firing a dark incantation burning through the bloodline essence of his own family tree as a brutal sacrificial offering, supposedly to cleanse the royal crown artifact, causing all the lower-level guild members to instantly panic and break formation. Big Bro was blatantly planning to kill his own squad. The moment that horrible truth drops, they all instantly rage, quit the altar area, sprinting away without dropping a single glance behind them. Unfortunately, the veteran player had already rigged the entire arena with hidden tripwires as waves of rotting aggro mobs spawn out of bounds to completely body block every single escape path. Our MC just stares dead ahead with his gears turning, knowing full well the main quest objective is literally to cancel the Hanba boot sequence. Because if this toxic older brother actually finishes his casting, the server is totally cooked without missing a frame. Our boy launches himself right into the massive meat shield of infected zombies. Meanwhile, the sweaty clan leader is just standing at the podium spamming his dark magic macro, but no matter how many times he loops the chant, the console simply refuses to output a valid response. He whips his head around only to realize the 9 cursed items have totally gone rogue and gained sentience. Clocking this disaster, he aggressively cracks his whip while muttering a debuff code, instantly slapping my character model with a brutal movement speed penalty. Is this heavy mobility nerf just the garbage passive trait of playing a zombie class in this zone? The alpha brother starts mashing his spell keys even faster, while the entire squad gets caught in an invisible crowd control web. An intensely overpowered grip that hard freezes our already lagging animations into stone. Homie then waddles closer with his forehead dripping buckets of sweat, swearing on his life that he will not inflict damage solely because we are meant to be the gourmet XP feast for the newly spawned zombie monarch. Complaining that our glitchy hitboxes are ridiculously tough to manage, draining almost all of his mana just to keep our party locked down. Glaring right at his smug face, my internal sirens are blaring, knowing damn well I cannot let him channel this shady summoning, ultimate to 100%. So, I drop the facade and leak our true class to the shepherd, declaring our mission is strictly to cancel the Hanba respawn timer, demanding if he possesses any cleanse spell to wipe this stun. Hearing my words, the old guy practically short-circuits, physically shaking, as he questions if the Hanba I name-dropped is the legendary Earth-tier ghoul, currently chilling in that massive concrete. Honestly, I am so confused by his absolute terror, wondering if this boss is truly that broken, prompting the dude to drop some massive lore bombs about the entity. Beyond just carrying the Earth title, Hanba is literally one of the top 4 ancestral zombie devs in the game, with a terrifying server rumor attached to its name, claiming that the moment this freak renders in the entire map gets globally nuked for thousands of miles. Like if this nightmare genuinely shatters its firewall and respawns. Our party wipe is the least of our worries, because every single NPC in the province is basically cooked mid-explanation. The old guy violently bites his own thumb, instantly triggering an admin-level dispel command, revealing he had secretly planted a soul unbind patch directly into my inventory, powered entirely by his insanely rare Pure Yang HP, promising that for a very brief, every single necromancer crowd control skill will be completely nullified. The absolute very next frame, my avatar dashes forward with 0 input lag, casually throwing a right hook that physically deletes the arrogant brother from his coordinates. Though miraculously, the crazy villain just smiles like an absolute psycho. Big shout out to you guys for dropping enough blood on this rock to finish my super edgy summoning ritual. That stone box starts vibrating like crazy until a massive hand just punches right through the lid. Ground shakes hard, Freezing tornadoes start whipping around, dumping toxic purple clouds everywhere. Straight up smells like an unwashed gamer chair, right as a shiny new quest update pops onto the interface. Our easy rank E objective to block Hanba from spawning just evolved into a rank D boss fight to utterly destroy him. That toxic purple smoke finally clears up so we can get a good look at the main villain himself. Are you guys actually seeing this epic level 20 boss right now? Because Hanba, the corpse progenitor, is officially aggroing. Dude speedruns right at our boy looking like a shadow zooming across the screen, so Meek completely readies his knuckles, throwing an absolute haymaker directly into the chest of that monster, completely sending the ugly boss flying backward. He bounces hard. Actually, no. He literally slams into the dirt before flexing the most unhinged and sus grin ever. Bro starts puking suddenly, spitting out this absolutely massive wave of dark green sludge. Dodge that junk, our MC hits a quick roll to the side, just trying to avoid catching those gross frames. Unfortunately, that zombie gas hits you with a brutal damage over time. Debuff, but thank God, Stella and the squad roll up. Hanba starts stomping toward the party while spamming his massive corpse progenitor pressure, or a buff. The system chat literally announces, our stats drop to the floor while his aggro and everything else spiked. Kenny is absolutely furious, literally grinding his teeth over this ridiculous. Do they even stand a chance? Our mages already walk around with the lowest health pool ever, and now their stats got sliced in half. We are cooked. This fight is basically way more stressful than in the Chief Vex raid, since even our main DPS guy is shook, stressing out of their minds, wondering how we act, doing 0 damage because of the massive nerf. So he assumes taking down this absolute tank requires Big Boom hits some heavy galaxy brain teamwork, but suddenly, the loudest explosion you ever heard drops. Is our boy crazy cutting off everyone completely, as he already teleports right into the face of Hanba, throwing hands, landing a completely raw critical strike on his chest that absolutely chunks his health bar. Vincent instantly calls out his shadow minions, because he clearly refuses to let anyone steal his spotlight. Kenny and the rest of the crew wrap up their cast times, dropping 2 insanely heavy magic attacks, blowing up the boss all at once, giving our boy the perfect window to sneak behind and swing again, pulling off a nasty pincer attack that shreds his health bar into pieces until the smoke finally clears. Big guy drops. Actually, wait. The huge beast falls to his knees, vibrating like a broken toy. So Mick launches upward for the finisher. Shepard desperately screams a warning, trying to cancel the attack, but a massive shockwave already hits. Boss gets dropped, smashing the monster straight into the dirt, while the server pop-up confirms our boy secured the kill, completely winning the melee brawl and officially completing the entire Vulture Peak run in one sweep. Shepard runs over in an absolute panic, yelling about how reckless and insane that play was, revealing that taking the final hit on Hanba gives you a massive debuff as the corpse literally melts. Pure nightmare fuel turning into this super gross dark red fog almost immediately. Is this run actually doomed? Red text flashes across the screen saying, our MC just caught the legendary corpse progenitor curse, meaning he gets straight up deleted in 30 days, so he asks the Shepherd if there is any cure. The dude just shakes his head, looking defeated, claiming the lore says anyone who gets cursed like this has 0 chance of living past 30 days. But honestly, our boy is not even stressing it, since Vulture Peak is literally just a starting zone, basically meaning the major capital university hub. Can they even fail? Definitely has some kind of high tier patch for this bug, right? As Kenny reminds him to grab the loot drop. Such sus behavior, Vincent already ninja looted the boss chest, hitting us with the most toxic smirk imaginable, literally telling our boy, thanks for the carry, but all this prime loot is going in my inventory. The chest pops open, revealing a rank D item called the Corpse Progenitor Ring, basically an op piece of gear that leeches 50% agility from any target, so he pockets it, and instantly fast travels out of the dungeon, leaving behind nothing but a quiet swoosh. Literally, the second that dude goes invisible, our boy Kenny spams his underworld potato control ability, instantly stun, locking him in place. I go absolutely feral, rushing forward, which makes Vincent chuck that ring like it is nothing. Trying to cheese my agility stats, bro. Actually thought he could snatch my speed and just dip out of the lobby. But my guy totally miscalculated the RNG, getting absolutely cooked when his speed only bumps up by a measly few points. I wind up a massive haymaker and absolutely obliterate his jawline. Oops, did I forget to mention a tiny detail? Every single time I get XP and level up, all those stat points go straight into my raw damage, So right now, since we do not have that zombie boss breathing down our necks, folding you is a complete joke. And right as this clown hits the dirt, a random ice spell from the backline completely freezes his legs. Our girl Serena is just casually strolling up, holding a massive grudge over Vincent playing dirty with the game mechanics just to boost his own loot. Cause without his toxic griefing, she could have actually qualified for the big exam tournament bracket. Knowing he is totally checkmated, Vincent Rage quits by tossing his ring and immediately logging out of the Vulture Peak instance, taking the absolute biggest loss while fuming with I am just staring at this zombie overlord drop in my palm. Even though this piece of gear is basically useless on my build, it is going to be super op whenever I have to duel players with agility stats, acting as the perfect counter to speedrunners. Anyway, fast forward a bit. The squad completely clears out of the instance and spawns back into real life. Meanwhile, on the server, the guild teachers finally tracked down the secret base for Organization B right inside Sioux City using some leaked data. Plus, they just dropped a massive server update claiming that because of safety hazards, the upcoming Elite Rookie Tournament is getting put on total pause, so the admins are just going to fast travel us straight to our colleges, cutting to another scene. Inside some creepy gothic mansion, Scarlet drops to her knees, acting super submissive, reporting that their whole Sioux City master plan completely flopped, all thanks to a rookie named Joyu griefing their entire setup. That exact name drop makes the big boss smirk, like a total supervillain, muttering about how the noob is already flexing on the veterans. Skip ahead. 2 days in game, I wrap up my enrollment quest and track down the headmaster of Capital University named Gideon Yo Teach. Gotta pick your brain about something. Rolling up my sleeve to show off this wild, glowing ancient barcode on my arm. Basically, I soloed that Vulture Peak final boss named Onba a few days back, but that toxic mob slapped me with a massive debuff right before wiping. Gideon instantly reads the room, explaining this status effect is practically impossible to cleanse, saying the only guaranteed fix is grabbing a legendary consumable called the Sage Protection, but since it is literally an S-tier drop, almost nobody would ever post it on the auction house. Hearing that honestly gives me mad FOMO. Who would have actually thought that consumable was so insanely cracked? Because if I knew the meta back when I was trading with Chief Fix, I totally would have used a different strat to wipe my debuffs. But whatever, man, aside from that crazy rare item, he tells me there is one more glitch to bypass the Onba curse. Though looking at my current level, it is literally a pipe dream. Like, bro, I actually have to carry an entire S-tier raid. Taking that in, I just tell my guy to chill out. Since I already speedruns tier bounty missions on the regular, Gideon gets super deadpan, explaining how a basic S-tier side quest and an actual S-tier nightmare raid are completely different beasts. You literally cannot compare the two modes, cause the sweaty tryhards who actually survive those high-tier zones are all mid-level veterans, while a total low-level noob wandering in there would just get farmed like a generic NPC mob. Instantly, I wave off the boomer advice telling him not to stress, claiming he can literally duel me right now if he thinks my stats are totally mid. The second those words leave my mouth, a suffocating boss aura violently explodes from Gideon, and right then, my vision literally feels like it is taking critical piercing damage. But how I tank the hit totally leaves him shook. Dude cannot compute how a fresh account is face-tanking pressure that normally only veteran mid-level players or higher can even survive without wiping, wondering if I actually have the raw mechanics to solo this S-tier instance. Next thing you know, he starts dropping the massive lore dump on this zone, calling the map Soul Purifying Lake, where any avatar stepping inside gets a full wipe of all their debuffs and status effects. And to hook me up with some decent map awareness before I jump into the Purifying Lake lobby, Lady Gideon slides our boy some heavy-duty loot, dropping that rank of Kionki chain on him, basically an anti-brainwashing cheat code. And wasting literally zero time, our MC just swan dives right into the portal, loading straight into the soul-purifying lake zone. The server rules here are completely cooked, dropping 4 sus mechanics starting off with a massive red flag. If any random voice hollers at your back, do not even think about snapping your neck around. Number 2. Hits harder if a squad mate goes totally ghost mode. For over 60 seconds, you better monitor their next moves, like a hawk catching the third mechanic. You gotta speed run, learning the exact vibes and chatter patterns of your whole party, locking that into your brain for Rule 4, which says if some creepy audio glitch starts playing phantom podcasts right inside your eardrums, you need to start dropping the most toxic trash talk imaginable until that noise uninstalls itself. Oh, and a quick bonus tip, catching random questions from jungle weirdos means keep your mouth completely zipped, so soaking in these nightmare terms of service. Randoms start spawning into the lobby one by one, and scoping their base stats. They look mostly like mid-tier grinders and up, meaning the second they realize our boy is sitting at a scrub tier level 13. This one nerdy dude rocking glasses instantly starts flaming the lobby chat, raging that the matchmaking RNG is absolute garbage, flexing that he could solo this boss fight blindfolded, but crying that a total noob is gonna tank his speedrun pace. Actually, no. Wait, this girl, Mia, is entirely not having his toxic vibe, claiming if the EMC spams he could easily fake being a mid-tier sweat. Now the main quest marker is pinging dead center at the soul purification lake. Smack in the middle of this massive cursed jungle, but literally the exact millisecond, our boots touch the dirt, a straight-up copy-paste clone of our mech spawns right by his shoulder, perfectly mirroring every single micro-movement he makes, like a laggy shadow, and boom, the squad catches on to this massive glitch. But since they literally just queued up 2 minutes ago, nobody has the brainpower to spot the real main character. So, Four Eyes drops the absolute worst strat ever, telling everyone to just wipe them both out to clear up server space. But Mia cuts off that bozo behavior with pure riz, pointing out that since his actual build is a literal necromancer, whoever casts the dark arts first wins the identity check, and tell me how crazy it is that right on cue, one of them pops a shadow spell, with zero delay, leaving our MC completely shook that this fake actually had hacking software installed. Especially since our boy is playing a completely busted melee-only caster build, meaning the team is totally cooked into believing the clone. But before anyone can even blink, our MC whips out his Azure Dragon Crescent Blade and just launches, straight at the copycat, slicing the hacker perfectly down the middle, with one swing exposing its real model under the skin, looking like a tangled mess of angry salad, while the user interface tags it as a Dungeon Evil spirit puppet. And catching that clean hit, he feels this wild energy getting sucked straight into his legendary blade, pulling the whole squad over, scratching their heads over why a squishy magic user is swinging heavy metal and making a level 20 mob look like an absolute joke. Right as a creepy neon green fire bursts out from the deleted plant monster, laser targeting straight into Maya's eyeballs, and barely a second later, a massive, bloody slice opens up on the MC's chest. Thank God his health bar is fully maxed right now, or he would be getting sent back to the lobby. Catching that demonic virus just supercharged Maya's stats to the moon, tanking the entire squad's DPS like an absolute raid boss without taking a single scratch. So, our boy uses his rogue movement to flank her, landing a nasty snooze button punch to the dome. Absolutely horrifying. That salty nerd in the glass is completely mind-blown. That a magic main just one-tapped a mid-tier sword user, and right after, Maya completely logs out on the dirt. This sus glitchy blob sneaks out of her avatar, so our MC grabs his massive blade and just pins the parasite into the floorboards, making a mental note to dodge this mechanic, because if that bug jumps onto his overpowered stats, the whole server is getting wiped. Once Mia reboots her system, they push further into the danger zone, fast forward a bit. Mr. Toxic and some other random get hit with lag splitting from the main squad as they sprint sweating bullets, trying to close the distance before they get completely cooked. Out of nowhere, this sketchy shadow drops in, right behind the squad system. UI flashes up saying, "We just stumbled into a super rare RNG mob spawn. They call this creepy thing the Weasel Phantom. The second it spawns, it hits them with a crazy riddle, asking if it gives off human vibes or literal god energy." Four Eyes doesn't even hesitate for a second. Actually, wait, no, he just straight up flips the bird, acting like this mythical beast is completely brain dead, roasting the monster for being way too busted to look human. But the absolute second those words leave his mouth, that phantom just teleports straight into his personal space, unleashing a massive swipe with its razor-sharp claws. The rest of the party is literally shook to their core, like, hello? Did we completely forget the warning prompt before loading in? Which literally screamed at us to ignore any random. So, now this glasses-wearing clown is single-handedly throwing the whole raid, meanwhile on the opposite end of the map. Our boy catches some faint aggro sound effects echoing from the backline. And by the time we actually pull up to the scene, Four Eyes and the rest of the squad are completely wiped out, taking a dirt nap. Then that goofy weasel boss spins around and drops the exact same riddle, asking our MC if he looks like a deity or a mortal, but he absolutely refuses to play, clapping back by asking if he looks like the monster's dad or his grandpa, which honestly is such a flex, And the moment he drops that savage line, the enraged beast goes full aggro. Big mistake, and in literally a microsecond, a tiny little scratch marks up his cheek, but weirdly enough, all that crazy boss energy just instantly vanishes into thin air, since that pathetic hit only dealt a little over 300 flat damage. Which is wild, because even high-level mid-tier grinders wouldn't dare to tank that absolute nuke directly to the face. Our MC just casually winds up his right arm, rocking brass knuckles, delivering an absolutely OP, flawless critical straight into the monster's gut with a huge boom, one-shotting the boss, instantly leaving the sideline, spectators totally flabbergasted. They are seriously tripping right now, wondering if his player stats were somehow heavily bugged, because bro is literally hard stuck at beginner tier, and nobody has ever witnessed a summoner class throwing actual hands before. Suddenly, Four Eyes wakes up from his coma and instantly starts yapping, crying about how Sue's our MC acts for a summoner class, throwing wild theories that the guy who got packed up earlier was the real deal, just because he actually spammed dark magic abilities, demanding our boy to prove his identity right there. But the MC just icy glare. Like seriously, have you ever seen a fake running this kind of loadout? And honestly, Four Eyes is totally clueless about the gear. So the nerd instantly backpedals and changes his whole entire, begging for forgiveness while saying he totally overreacted, apologizing like a complete coward to our MC. After that whole drama, the party pushes further into the jungle. Biome finally pulling up to the legendary soul-cleansing pond, where the most cursed visual literally drops their jaws, and Mia starts theorizing that all these floating ghosts used to be actual gamers who tried to speedrun this exact raid back in the day, but totally got cooked instead, making it obvious this D rank zone has an insane wipe rate right after soaking that in. The squad spots this creepy stone altar chilling nearby, covered in cryptic lore text that basically translates to this being an ancient blood magic shrine, meaning the only way to trigger the quest completion requires tossing a living player to the gods, which explains why those spirits are permanently trapped as mindless water minions, cursed to defend this puddle forever and ever. But while everyone is distracted reading the lore, nobody catches Four Eyes and his homie Max flashing the most devious villain grins, teaming up to backstab our boy with a dirty combo, shoving him straight onto the sacrifice table as his eyes go pitch black. He is straight up kicking himself for carrying those absolute frauds earlier. But these smooth brains literally have zero clue how the altar mechanics work. So what happens next? Our boy casually stands right back up, catching them off guard before they panic, spam their skills at him again, forcing him to quickly yank out, his blade to parry the ambush, sending a massive heavy metal screech echoing everywhere, while Max just fully drops his fake friendly act, demanding the MC drop his entire inventory for a quick, painless death. But our guy literally could not care less, finally realizing why they suddenly acted so nice earlier, since they were purely thirsty for his crazy drops. Right on cue, the glasses nerd tries to land another sneaky backstab, but Mia absolutely tanks the hit for our boy, leaving Four Eyes super salty, yelling at the girl to get out of the way and stop griefing his master plan, trying to justify his betrayal by saying he is just playing the objective, pretending that sacrificing the MC is a huge win for the team. Mia is totally not buying his sketchy promises about our squad actually clearing this soul-purifying lake raid. I mean, wait. He actually totally clutched up and saved my hide during our initial spawn point drop, but that cursed statue only demanded some random living sacrifice, without explicitly forcing us to drop a friendly team kill. Then suddenly, the entire arena glitches out into this massive raging tornado of raw phantom energy, mixed with heavy shadows, and right then, some sneaky camper totally triggers the main shrine console, causing our entire squad to violently lag out while tanking the most brain-melting psychic debuff ever. Thank God Headmaster Gideon hooked our boy up with that epic tier Kion Ki charm to passively block all incoming mind control spam. Turns out the imposter is Ivy, the literal grass-type caster who spent the entire carry acting completely AFK. Flashing this super toxic fake smile, she basically tells us to enjoy grinding in this endless death loop, since we love PvP so much. Like honestly, bro, how did that girl even figure out those complex altar mechanics so fast? She is acting incredibly sus, because she miraculously dodged every single mob aggro and essentially guided our whole party straight toward the main objective, which heavily implies our girl has definitely speedrun this exact map before, running the soul-purifying lake. So upon realizing her dirty trap, I instantly equip my Azure Dragon Crescent weapon and slice right through her annoying root crowd. Control abilities with a couple of crispy sword swipes, catching my counterplay. Ivy drops a toxic smirk and immediately spams her core vine buffing skill once more, making the plant hitboxes instantly double in size while continuously regenerating their green health bars right after taking slash damage, completely out of nowhere. Some stealthy rogue projectile tags my neck hitbox while I was totally distracted, watching the boss slowly walk over. I pop my corpse progenitor ring to instantly drain 50% of her base movement speed stat, before hot swapping to the Keon Key accessory, which beautifully boosts my overall magic damage output by an extra 30%. Homegirl is looking absolutely unbothered and totally chilling, unlike that completely cooked nerd wearing those stupid glasses. Her base power level is heavily pushing those upper mid-tier server rankings, yet my physical avatar somehow manages to cleanly clip right past her overly thick botanical defense barrier, taking absolutely zero resistance as my heavy punch connects, dealing a flat 1,314 damage, while everything else spiked. Total HP completely wiped off her bar, ruining her active combat stats right before she drops some hardcore salty dialogue, and literally rage quits the lobby, making me realize this massive sore loser energy feels exactly like what Vincent Gray pulled earlier. Casually grabbing my epic dragon blade, I slowly stroll back to the weird sacrificial zone where Mr. Four Eyes and the rest of the randoms probably got totally wiped out. But honestly, this stupid demonic structure has zero reason to exist. Just casually running my mouth like a true streamer, I fully wind up my massive weapon and completely smash the center console, triggering a super clean victory chime from the core system, confirming I actually siphoned the altar juice while securing 20 sweet free stat points, just as Mia and the squad finally stop lagging. Our girl drops a massive thank you, knowing my insane hard carry saved them from the permadeath screen, so as a tiny reward, the squad totally aborts the current quest line, while I approach the glowing magical waters and plunge right into the deep end with a massive splash. As long as my character chills in this magical hot tub for 2 whole minutes, the nasty debuff on my physical avatar gets instantly. That is when I suddenly realize the grass mage sneakily injected some weird botanical parasite into my code, which the holy water completely ignores, meaning the random wood seed item is somehow totally harmless to my current build. So, after ditching the party, I fast travel straight back to the admin's room. Headmaster Gideon is literally shook out of his mind because he absolutely bet against our boy actually surviving the entire raid and full clearing that insanely toxic soul, purifying lake in. I basically have to admit I totally skipped the final phase since the scaling on that map was way too broken, and I literally just tagged the water before hitting the emergency escape button, but his epic loot drop totally kept me alive. Fast forward to the evening, where I am actually wait, I was just laying in my dorm overthinking about this incredibly weird plant bug inside my system since I literally rushed the exit sequence so that I totally ghosted the principal without interrogating him about the mysterious deep lore behind this random annoying wood seed drop, completely oblivious to the massive server event about to hit me like a truck until the morning login where my academic counselor looks absolutely livid, since our boy totally trolled the class system by dropping the wizard path to proudly lock in a pure physical brawler build instead. There is literally no way I am leaking my true stats, because if the dark arts coach ever casually finds out, my summoning RNG is so absolute trash I cannot even spawn a basic bone minion. He would instantly delete my whole. So, after the counselor finishes yapping, our boy finally gets his student ID. Turns out, Capital University runs on this wild custom currency setup. Everyone starts with a flat 10 base credits on their account, and if you want more, you gotta grind those daily quests, the academy drops, or survive the teacher evaluations. Basically, your real-world cash is absolutely useless here, because those credits dictate your entire existence literally 2 seconds later. The MC rolls up to the physical brawler department to lock in his registration. Actually, wait. The guy running the show is Instructor Warren. This absolute unit is rocking a level 35 physical build, and he immediately announces he is about to drop his aura on the whole room. If you manage to skip the floor inspection and actually stay on your feet for 5 whole minutes under his heavy gravity, you pass the vibe check. That is the only way to not get kicked from his roster. Dude just casually flicks his wrist and unleashes this suffocating domain expansion. Instantly, every single NPC student in the vicinity gets hit by an invisible brick wall of pure dread. Oxygen basically leaves the chat right then and there, but Warren actually pauses the timer to let the noobs gather their thoughts. Right on cue, this random guy named Liam steps out from the mob, trying to explain how face-tanking this boss is a guaranteed game over for everyone. So, he pitches this whole raid party tactic to cheat the system. The strat is forming duos to swap aggro back and forth, pairing a high-tier tank with a squishy low-level, balancing out the party stats so nobody gets totally cooked. Liam spots our MC just chilling in the corner by himself, and actually tosses him a party invite, but he looks super sus about our boy's scrawny build, wondering what kind of melee class he could possibly be running right now. Our MC just deadpans that he is not a brawler at all, but actually a necromancer when that drops. The entire lobby completely loses their minds, laughing. I mean, why is a squishy magic caster trying to infiltrate the heavyweight gym? The MC tells Liam to chill out and not worry about getting nerfed by him. And literally 2 seconds later, Warren cranks the gravity dial back to max. The boss instantly locks his target crosshairs right onto our boy. Liam actually plays the hero and dashes up to block the damage, but honestly, the dude just gets absolutely flattened. All the other side characters from Liam's crew are standing there completely shook, watching their top-tier carry get one-shotted into the pavement, like a literal joke right after that. Warren throws an absolute cannonball of a second strike. Our mech just winds up and dashes straight into the danger zone, managing to parry the hit, but the splash damage alone violently shreds over 100 points from his health bar. Watching this play out, Warren is looking completely glitchy in the brain, absolutely refusing to accept the reality that a squishy dark mage just face-tanked. His heavy melee attack, he gets insanely triggered by this disrespect and physically buffs his aura output to maximum overdrive. But our MC blocks that one too, even though his total health pool has basically dropped by nearly 1,000 points. The peanut gallery is entirely losing their minds right now, wondering what kind of broken stat sheet this supposed magic user is hiding. How is he not currently a floor mat? Meanwhile, our boy is internally sweating because that impact felt like catching a falling meteor. Is the teacher seriously using him to flex on the new lobbies? But then our MC just flashes this absolutely chaotic grin and says, "Bro, did you skip breakfast or something?" That supreme level trash talk actually makes the big guy burst out laughing instead of raging. He loves that a freshman is still standing there matching his freak. The guy bets that if the MC survives this upcoming ultimate attack, he will personally become his permanent VIP bodyguard for the rest of his academy playthrough. The boss charges forward, radiating this nuclear-level kinetic energy, and their hitboxes collide with an absolutely deafening shockwave. The sheer damage output deletes the oxygen and creates a literal sonic boom, completely shattering the concrete map right under their sneakers. Our MCS blocking arm is instantly looking severely cooked and swollen because the level gap between them is way too massive. He loses all traction and starts skidding backward uncontrollably. Watching the kid finally break down, Warren steps back and tells the bystanders to carry him to the healing spawn point. Feeling kinda guilty for going tryhard mode, realizing he basically bullied a level 1, but literally a frame later, our boy staggers back up onto his feet. Clinging to exactly 240 hit points, he looks right at the teacher and mutters that he actually caught the final punch. When our MC finally boots back out of sleep mode, he has zero clue what the server time even is, but the very first NPC rendering in his vision is Warren himself. The big guy confirms he is locking in that VIP protection contract for the rest of his academy run, swearing to carry him from here on out. But suddenly someone interrupts the cutscene. It is Professor Shane from the Dark Arts Department, showing up to aggressively demand why his star student decided to drop the necromancy major. This dude decides to randomly flex his class skills mid-sentence, and out of nowhere, the entire room gets flooded with this insanely toxic death, debuff aura. Pitch black glitchy cracks start spiderwebbing across the physical space, and an entire squad of high-tier skeleton mobs crawls out of the void, with their bones dripping in pure nightmare fuel. Bathed in that creepy toxic glow, Professor Shane tries spitting game, asking our boy to swap majors, promising to drop the entire dark arts skill tree if MC just switches to the necromancer build, which sounds super OP on paper. But honestly, my spirit stat is sitting at absolutely 0, so who even specs into that anyway? Making it so I literally can't, forcing me to hit him with the hard pass, saying, "I might actually my bad teach, but I am officially locking in my current class." deciding to stick with the physical brawler squad for now while Shane just takes the loss quietly and hands over his business card, letting MC know the DMs are always open if I ever want to respec my character, build down the road, before flexing his admin privileges to just step directly onto a fast travel waypoint, vanishing from the clinic completely, while Coach Warren tells our boy to heal up and get some proper rest, teasing some absolute nightmare training arc, dropping the very next day. Boom time. Skip welcome to tomorrow. Warren drags the whole server into a rank Silai instance where the main quest is literally just touching grass in a spooky forest. Supposed to just chill, cross-legged until golden hour. But plot twist. The entire zone is an absolute blender of razor-sharp gust, making it physically impossible to AFK in this meat grinder without some serious passive buffs. But Warren swears, this is the mandatory skill check for anyone maining the physical path, promising some hidden loot drops scattered around the map. Obviously, Liam plays the try-hard role and pushes first, getting instantly swarmed the second he crosses the boundary line, tanking an absolute barrage of invisible aerial slashes, shredding his character model like a literal cheese grater, leaving the rest of the noobs absolutely shook, but forced to queue up for the raid anyway, while Warren drops a casual hint, claiming you just need a base defense state over 100 to essentially negate the environmental chip damage, prompting our boy to check his system, user interface, dead, staring now, looking at his pathetic 6 defense points, realizing this boomer instructor is totally trying to wait. No, is this guy actually out of his mind? However, my health pool is sitting pretty at nearly 5,000, meaning my meat shield strat basically gives me hundreds of phantom armor points, so I confidently strut into the hazard zone, only to catch a massive win when I realize what Warren meant by those hidden Easter eggs, discovering that getting actively shredded in this wind tunnel actually permanently power levels your base. Fast forward 2 hours into the grind, and even with my massive health bar, the passive damage over time is getting way too spicy, putting me on pace to completely wipe before the server resets today if my RNG does not turn around immediately, when suddenly that sleeper agent botanical seed chilling in my inventory decides to randomly boot up and pop off, literally hacking my health regeneration to start skyrocketing, because the seed is straight up leeching the entire forest ecosystem, reacting perfectly to my dropping vitals by entering absolute survival mode, which totally balances out the heavy wind chip damage while almost every other scrub player starts rage quitting the zone, leaving the whole lobby completely stunned, wondering how is this even fair, seeing a squishy fleshmancer like me still standing his. Another 2 hours melt away completely cooked. Now even top-tier Liam has to retreat from the storm, making our boy the absolute last player surviving in the tempest, until the sky finally goes dark, and I step out of the ring, flexing a fresh 23-point defense stat, meaning I literally farmed 17 free armor points while everything else spiked in a single session. Finally hitting the weekend, but I am absolutely addicted to the grind, so I plan to dive right back into the storm, because why stop when the gains are this good? Seeing my armor points skyrocket insanely until Kenny and the squad roll up on my 6, dropping into my chat to ask if I am down to officially launch a clan since creating a guild unlocks massive premium content like private server raids and massive multiplayer turf wars and all that good stuff, revealing they already cooked up the edgiest clan name possible, calling themselves the Godslayers. Nodding along, I tell them the vibes are immaculate and to go file the paperwork while I finish my daily quests, promising to party up later, but honestly, my solo grind session feels actually, it feels totally nerfed as my stat, making me realize I probably hit the hard level cap for my current beginner tier rank, since a starter class rocking a casual 500 defense is basically cheating the system anyway when suddenly a random glowing aura flashes right in my face and slowly renders the actual character model of the Machine Empress herself, leaving me totally staggered, wondering how in the world she just fast-traveled into my instance without an invite, prompting the Empress to explain that my handy little nature seed had been slurping up so much passive XP lately that the crazy amount of mana overflow literally allowed that glowing waifu literally turns into pure pixels and zip. She straight up speedruns right into our boy's chest cavity. Since MC made a solid bet earlier to be her personal tour guide for the server, though NGL feeling. A whole different gamer piggybacking inside his own flesh is insanely sus. Anyway, he sets a waypoint straight for the clan training grounds, hype to link up with Kenny and the squad. But plot twist across the map, our boys' party is currently getting heavily griefed by a massive toxic mob from Crimson Fire, Apparently, those tryhards are desperately farming some extra honor stats, just to grind their clan level up, so they initiated a forced PvP event. Plus, they had the audacity to claim our banner tag is way too edgy, calling the Godkillers clan absolute mid-tier garbage they never heard of. But the moment our MC finally spawns in, Marcus is already flatlining on the dirt. Our boy's aura instantly drops to sub-zero as he readies his bare knuckles. Who gave you NPCs the green light to touch my bros? Dropping that raw dialogue makes their sweaty clan officer Rocky smirk like a total clown, literally 1 frame later. This dude yeets a massive right hook, zooming straight at the camera, but when that trash attack connects our boys, Hitbox does not even flinch a single pixel. Mickey's is dead. Ass, staring at him. Speechless, thinking, these Crimson Fire guys were elite. Actually, no, he just realized turns out they are completely washed. Mob tier fodder. Rocky is totally spacing out right now, his tiny brain completely blue screening. The dude is shook, thinking he dumped 80% of his mana pool, yet could not even scratch our boys. Base armor plating. Is this guy secretly a maxed out tank build relying purely on pure defense? RNG. Coping hard, he decides to spam another heavy ultimate, popping the 7-kill strike animation. Seeing this glowing aura makes all the toxic clan goons breathe a massive sigh of relief. They are so hyped, knowing how broken that 7 kills damage. Multiplier actually is acting like no brawler class in server history could ever face tank it at the same elo bracket, but reality check Rocky's mouth is literally quivering in pure panic. That flashy finishing move dealt absolutely 0 damage. Mick just chuckles, dropping the coldest line. Your free trial is over, buddy. Suddenly, some backline support kid yells out a copium strategy to Rocky, saying if the tank stats are maxed, then his DPS must be completely garbage. Meaning, in a raw damage trade, Rocky still firmly holds the win condition catching. That fake hype restores the sweaty officer's ego meter, flexing back into a fighting stance. Bro actually thinks there is no mathematical way our guy's aggro output is anywhere near as overpowered as his shield stat, but before he can even finish our boy's character model literally teleports across the zone, dropping a nuclear right hook that violently clashes against Rocky's weak block. In less than a second, that dude gets ragdolled into the concrete floor, while his entire striking arm is left looking like a twisted pretzel. Brutally mangled, right then, a dark shadowy figure struts out from the peanut gallery, and the second this new boss steps up, the atmospheric pressure heavily spikes. Mick instantly reads the power scaling, realizing this guy is sitting comfortably at a mid-tier veteran rank, or maybe even higher. The guy speaks with fake corporate manners, introducing himself as Luther, the actual big boss of the Crimson Fire clan, spitting some logic that triggering a massive server war would totally bankrupt both their rosters with crazy repair costs, suggesting they just settle this beef with a classic one-on-one duel. Whoever gets clapped forces their entire guild to hit the surrender button. Handing over the juicy honor points directly, Kenny is absolutely mauling over this demand, even though the terms technically balance out, considering Luther's base stats are way too inflated for an early game zone. Our boy locks in the challenge without missing a beat. Right on cue, Luther dashes in, slicing the air as his heavy fist slams brutally onto Massif's left guard, parrying the impact. Damn, that kinetic energy is no joke, confirming this dude is a legit mid-ranker carrying some heavily tuned damage. Wondering if bro also spec'd into a pure physical brawler build. But plot twist, a stealth blade mysteriously renders right into the guildmaster's offhand like a complete magic trick, draining several hundred health points from our MC in a flash. Bro got caught slipping, since the boss is an assassin, main wielding a toxic blinding debuff. Suddenly, the screen goes totally blurry with bad rendering, giving Luther the opening to spam a wind combo, landing another cheap shot while the venom ticks, causing massive frame drops in our boy's movement speed, forcing him to eat the massive crowd control hit straight to the chin. The sneaky guildmaster capitalizes on the lag, brandishing his dagger to execute a savage finisher animation, but right before that rusty butter knife can clip into his player model, a crazy crimson aura erupts around our MCS character avatar, triggering a phantom counterattack that violently punts Luther out of bounds, and in that very frame, the boss's health bar gets chunked down by 50%. The Empress waifu chimes in, telling our boy to stay locked in because they are basically co-oping the same meat suit now. The guild leader looks absolutely rattled by this cheat code, energy muttering some salty trash talk as our boy's glare turns to absolute ice as he powers up his undead progenitor artifact, telling them Did you really think you could start a boss raid? And then just hit the pause button to walk away. Totally cooked. Logic instantly. He launches forward like a hypersonic missile breaking the sound barrier. My knuckles absolutely delete Luther's jawline at Mach 10 speed. Bro gets sent flying backwards like a glitching NPC from that massive impact. Dude is low-key, hyperventilating right now, catching major feelings of panic, because he finally realizes he has to sweat this match, or he is entirely cooked. He actually fully believes my boy burned his entire mana bar, thinking that bizarre opening strike is totally off cooldown now, convinced that our MC zeroed out his stamina, just to pull off that singular flex and riding high. This absolute weirdo randomly starts vomiting toxic needles. Spotting that Sue's attack, my guy instantly throws up the dual forearm shield, but those venom spikes have totally broken armor penetration stats, leaving our dude locked in a heavy stun animation, despite landing the perfect parry, while the boss guy decides to aggressively spam his attack button. Suddenly, the entire airspace turns into a straight-up bullet hell nightmare, raining toxic needles everywhere, like some toxic confetti drop. Clapping his hands together, this bozo activates his ultimate crowd control ability, called Wisdom of Restriction, and immediately after that cast goes. Our main character gets slapped with a massive root debuff, entirely freezing him in place, prompting our villain to drop his aggro and get super careless. Landing that specific heavy nerf was meant to completely shut down any physical DPS build out there, literally forcing any melee main caught in the radius to disconnect from their motor functions entirely. And while running his mouth, he starts disrespectfully backhanding our boy while yapping about how weak we actually are, which triggers the entire Crimson Fire faction into spamming, laughing emotes in the chat, genuinely thinking a low-tier noob could never secure a massive W against a mid-tier tryhard. Wait a second, how is our completely paralyzed MC suddenly dropping voice lines right now, sending pure jump scare energy straight down Luther's spine? Getting tagged by that specific trap card should have permanently muted the target, so this dude is desperately praying. His audio is just bugging out. My guy just casually flexes out zero effort, radiating immense main character aura everywhere, dropping the coldest mic drop ever by whispering that his actual base class is Necromancer, before immediately shifting every single stat point into pure strength, winding up a devastating anti-gravity punch directly into the dude's ribcage, perfectly connecting the hitbox, leaving this absolute clown completely shattered mentally and physically, wildly raging over how extremely broken the current meta is, screaming internally, like how does a pure magic build punch that insanely hard, right before the server admin chimes in, officially broadcasting that the Godslayer crew just dominated the entire clan war event, transferring all of that sweet straight from those Crimson Fire losers right into our bags. Surviving that massive raid battle without taking heavy casualties was a huge W, though. Zoe sadly got her main defensive gear entirely shattered, which absolutely nerfs a tank build, figuring we need an upgrade fast. Our boy mentally tags the Empress Machina Ghost, living rent-free in his head, begging for the ultimate strategy guide, on which local zone has the highest drop rate for top-tier shields, letting the spirit waifu process the data, before she brutally roasts our combat rating by saying we would literally get one tap by the basic tutorial hounds in that specific location, totally ignoring her savage reality check. My guy downloads the quest coordinates anyway, hyping up his tank companion to just chill out, promising to personally speedrun the gear grind for her and smoothly navigating the minimap, pulling up right outside the pseudo-underworld lobby, which happens to be locked behind a strict 2-player minimum co-op requirement, squatting up. Immediately we tap the fast travel beacon successfully, launching both characters straight into the simulation instance. Supposedly the original underworld zone was entirely dev-coded by the Grim Reaper himself, making this instance a perfectly ripped pirate copy, engineered precisely to duplicate the endgame misery. Though being a totally custom server, there are zero weird avatar modifications this time around, skipping that annoying Vulture Peak transformation mechanic, completely letting our duo load in wearing their default skin layouts, keeping their human tags active, but hold up, something mad. Sue starts happening when this random religious icon suddenly spawns, getting instantly equipped to the tank girl's collarbone like, since when does she wear cosmetics? And literally, seconds later, my guy gets slapped with the exact same matching necklace, basically confirming it has to be a mandatory puzzle token right before the server user interface pings loudly to drop the mission briefing. officially laying out the step-by-step patch notes required to 100%, dividing the raid into distinct stages, where Objective 1 is simply surviving the iconic Doom Gates, while Objective 2 demands we push straight across that legendary Cursed River map and throughout the entire payload escort phase. Players must strictly guard the neck trinket from getting looted, because fumbling the bag ruins the chance at rolling the ultimate legendary loot box. Throwing in a super sketchy tooltip warning to blindly rely on your duo partner, just as a literal specter, NPC spawns into the rendering distance, acting as the primary tour guide through the horror zone, so we just match his walking speed quickly, hitting the final checkpoint outside the Inferno entrance, where a massive lobby of random shadow players suddenly renders right in front of the boss room. They always say you gotta speedrun through the literal gates of hell to unlock the real underworld map. But right on cue, this absolute unit of a raid boss spawns inside the entrance, just spawn camping and munching on every single noob ghost trying to log in, while my UI flashes a massive warning that this is the epic tier beast Cerberus, basically telling our boy Michael that any player trying to brute force this checkpoint is getting sent straight to the digestive tract. Our MC is sweating bullets and hardcore regretting queuing up for this raid, since he definitely did not read the patch notes about giant mutts. Empress Machina literally rolls her eyes at his skill issue, pointing out that this three-headed good boy is obviously a local server admin, which completely validates his earlier rant. But honestly, the main objective tracker just wants us to glitch through the doorway without grabbing aggro. So assuming we play stealth and do not trigger any boss mechanics, we should be totally chilling. Wait, am I totally jinxing this run right now? Because the second those famous last words leave his mouth, this absolute demon dog hits him with the one-shot combo, completely ignoring his defense stats, and slurps him down like a late-night snack, while the left head decides to hit Zoe with an insane AoE toxic debuff, instantly trapping her in a nasty hazard zone, where her health bar should be melting away. But suddenly a crazy pop-up drops, letting us know she basically tanked the dog slobber for exactly 10 seconds straight, which magically procs her holy relic to activate a completely busted anti-toxin firewall, making it so any repeated elemental tick damage just gets completely nullified and nerfed into the ground permanently. Right then, the main boss face in the middle starts screeching like it just stepped on a Lego brick, gagging super hard before violently coughing up our MC, who casually reveals he quick swapped to his Azure Dragon Crescent Blade, and literally used it as a massive prop block right down the monster, because if he had clipped into the stomach texture, he would be absolute dog water by now. But luckily, his overpowered sword is acting like the ultimate choke hazard, keeping the boss stunned, so he screams at Zoe to dodge roll through the entrance. Immediately, and literally 2 seconds later, they fully glitch past the barrier and clear the loading screen, letting the server blast a massive W on their screen for beating Phase 1 and dropping the next objective, which is surfing the Acheron River, while making sure nobody loots their cross artifact. So they pull up to the beach, and this sketchy wooden dinghy spawns with a spooky NPC who claims his name is Charon, running the ultimate pay-to-win transit system, demanding microtransactions to cross the water. Our boy does not even hesitate pulling out the premium ghost currency and sliding it over, causing the creepy boat dude to completely glaze him, rolling out the red carpet for them to board. But out of nowhere, a massive horde of random players who barely survived the dogfight rush the docks trying to hitch a free ride, but our guy Charon is just bodying them left and right, strictly gatekeeping the transport because they did not grind enough gold to afford the VIP ticket. Cruising along, our MC gets curious and asks why the broke players do not just swim across the map, doing the manual breaststroke, and Charon drops some heavy lore, explaining this pixelated water is super cursed, daring him to test the physics engine by dipping a finger, in which he totally does, and the literal millisecond his skin hits the surface. A disgusting swarm of mutated alien hands clip through the graphics trying to grab him, looking like absolute nightmare fuel, while the boat driver casual drops that these are actually the banned accounts of scrubs who thought they could bypass the anti-cheat and swim across illegally, permanently soft-locked in the freezing depths. So now they are hyper-salty and toxic, waiting to gang up on any living breathing user and drag them into the Shadow Realm to join their lame party and mid-sentence. This old geezer literally windmills his paddle straight at our backs, since he finally ran the scan and realized we have pulse rates, making us illegal intruders who completely scammed his premium shop with fake forged currency, knocking our boy straight out of the boat into the cursed soup, where a mega freezing debuff hits his core, accompanied by total rot, while an army of zombie digits starts stun-locking his entire character model. But homie pops his corpse progenitor ring real quick to completely drain the boatman's movement, stats, and abusing that sudden frame advantage. He animation cancels his way out of the liquid trap, carrying all that kinetic energy straight into a raw, heavy attack on Charon, slicing a massive hit marker into his ribcage. But the creepy NPC does not even flinch and just starts cackling like a maniac, threatening that getting a player kill on the River Transit Authority means a permaban level of punishment for smuggling. But honestly, our dude gives zero cares and literally Spartan kicks this boomer straight into his own hazard zone, and right as his ugly mug dips below the surface, he flashes the most sus Grinch smile ever, hinting at a wild phase 2 about to pop off. Our boy finally touches down on the far side of the Acheron River. But wait a minute, how is the exact same Charon we just chucked into the water, chilling right here, completely alive, wearing the exact same drip, catching the absolute brain freeze on my face? This random player steps up, breaking down how this ferryman is a total clone. Turns out every single party gets their own personal boatman for the raid, meaning this guy is literally just a copy-paste NPC scripted to spawn for the river crossing. Hearing we flat out zeroed our Charon just to cross makes this dude scoff before his face lights up like he just rolled an ultra-rare drop. Turns out the devs hard-coded a trap right there, because catching a body on the ferryman cranks the entire first circle of hell up to nightmare difficulty, taking the so-called Dark World Judgment Hall and turning it into a hardcore karma check for anyone stepping inside. So, packing up the boatman instantly flags your account as a massive sinner to the admins, guaranteeing an express ticket to the torture servers to grind out your penalty. By the way, this yapping player is Winston the Dungeon Guide. Is this guy for real? Literally doing farming real-world cash by carrying noobs through raids, heavily flexing that he has speedrun this exact zone way too many times to count, swearing on his life that following his strat means a guaranteed deathless clear through the underworld court. Pulling up to the main tribunal room, Winston whips around to drop some heavy lore, warning the squad to keep their mics muted once inside, as they shove the massive stone gates wide open, revealing a super menacing boss silhouette parked right at the head of the room, introducing Judge Yorick from Hell's First Circle, literally about to scan every single player's toxicity logs. Winston confidently takes point, capping out of his mind that his playthrough was totally clean and begging the boss to check his stats, taking the bait. Yorick boots up the master server logs, scrolling through the data for a hot second, officially declaring that after running a deep scan, Winston actually has zero ban history on his account, granting him the innocent tag. Then, it is my turn to slowly step up, telling him I am Juyu, and my record is just as squeaky clean, asking the big guy to run the same background check. He was actually no judge. Yorick literally just flips to the very first page of the ban list, freezing dead in his tracks, completely shook that a player as incredibly toxic as our boy would even try to claim a clean slate. Listing off Strike 1 as grave-robbing dead, NPCs Strike 2 as absolutely griefing the starter village, Strike 3 being straight-up animal abuse, maxing out his toxicity and griefing stats while everything else spiked, but the most insanely cooked violation on the list is trash-talking Cerberus and directly catching a body on Charon the Ferryman, still reading the Riot Act. He aggressively waves his hand to drop the ban hammer, sentencing the MC straight to the blood pool in the 7th Hell's first block, condemning him to infinite burn damage and boiling plasma to cleanse those massive debuffs, leaving Winston completely paralyzed in the back, since the only reason the guide passed the vibe check was his sneaky little rock, masking his real stats. He absolutely would have passed the cheat item to our boy, but who could have ever predicted? The MC was hiding such a gigantic rap sheet, though. When Winston finally snaps out of it, he witnesses pure nightmare fuel he will never unsee.